Do you want to be a part of the CoCo community? Sure, we all do. So join this free weekly live talk show to find out how easy it is to watch at home and learn about your color computer. At the CoCo Nation, more than 9 million men and women have participated in the community without setting foot outside their homes. And now at home in your spare time, you can see what's happening, or even join the discussion. Choose from any one of these segments: panel intros, project updates, acquisitions, CoCo Thoughts, featured interviews and events, the Game On Challenge, news, Ron's Garage, CoCo commercials, show coverage, panel goodbyes, or you can join one of our extra shows. You can choose from the Game On Challenge Live or CoCoTECH. Join the CoCo Nation right now.
Click the link for the free information TJB Chris spoke about. Then decide if you want to watch the CoCo Nation Live Show, the world's leading live weekly talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer, its siblings, cousins, and redheaded stepchildren. Visit thecoconation.com. There is no obligation, and no salesman will visit you. Visit thecoconation.com.
Okay, Curtis, you're on.
Okay, so before we start the show here, and Mark does the introductions officially, I just got, or not just, but I got off the phone with Frank of Retro Rewind earlier today, because I know there's been some people trying to order CoCo SDCs and not having much reaction, email, etc. For those of you who have been following the news the last couple of weeks, last week there was some huge flooding in Toronto. I think it was last week. Frank's house and office was directly affected by this. He had water running through the house, through his yard, cars floating down the street, the whole bit. And a lot of stuff was damaged, and parts were damaged, equipment for manufacturing was damaged, etc. So he's in the midst of issuing insurance claims, etc. for that, and ordering new parts and stuff here. So he's not quite sure when everything will sync up and get there. He's got some damage to the house itself too, as well, of course. And so he told me to let people know that that is happening. He's hoping to be back in the manufacturing mode for things like the CoCo SDC, and this affects all of his stuff, C64, Amiga, etc. Hopefully by second week of August, somewhere in there. If he's really lucky, he might get certain pieces of equipment and parts in to start some stuff early, but he's got, lots of orders to catch up on. So that's why you have not been able to order anything or probably get a response from him in a timely manner. So our hearts go out to him, because he's a sponsor of the CoCo Nation Show and CoCo Fest, as well as a bunch of other shows and stuff on other platforms as well. And this is a bit of a rough time for him. Luckily, nobody was hurt. All the pets were rescued. Just to give you an idea how fast the flooding was, he had a car that floated down the street and ended up sinking because the ground in his front yard had softened so much that he said when he walked on it, his feet would go down 6 inches into the soil. But he had a car that actually sank into there, and they had to get it towed out later on after the water started to dry up. So on Saturday, we'll have hopefully a bit more of an official update on that. He's also going to try to send me some pictures of some of the aftermath, just to kind of let people know what he's going through. And we'll show those on Saturday's show. I'll also pull in probably some footage from, just the standard news outlets, which were covering, the fact that the subway was flooded out, and there was, 9 lanes of underpasses on the 401 flooded, and people watching cars float by and stuff. So we'll give you a full update. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that, since Frank and Retro Rewind are official sponsors of our show. And with that, I will pass it back to Mark to do the introductions to the show and who's on the panel.
Okay, well, hopefully everybody can hear me here. So this is CoCoTECH number 6, and we are talking about semigraphics in mode 12/24 from Extended Basic. So all the stuff you see is all in Basic, no machine language involved. So Curtis will be doing the intro setup, and Nick Marentes will be doing the actual demo. And so that's our 2 people we have, plus myself. There's some resources I have. I'll upload those to the CoCo Discord and to the CoCoTECH channel, and also I'll put it on Facebook and all the usual places. And I post the stuff on MeWe, so I'll probably stick it there if I can. And so you can download and play along at home. And again, this is all about trying to give people more resources about how to do stuff. And hopefully we'll see some games come up that will that will use these sorts of features and techniques, and provide us more things to play. Anyway, I'm going to throw that back to you, Curtis.
Okay. So I will be doing a little bit of a demo at the end of my presentation, which is more like the boring meat and potatoes part of the thing. Nick will be actually demonstrating for the first time, actually working on an actual full game using this. It's not complete yet. This will not be part of the download that is released today. My little demo programs will be, which show you how to set the modes up and play with them a little bit. It is, there's some limits to it, which we'll be discussing. But I mean, we're stealing extended basic routines that were never designed for semi-graphics. The fact that we got them to work at all is kind of cool. So I know some people have seen articles on running semi-graphics from BASIC before, but usually it involves, you're poking literally the screen or you write a machine language subroutine to do something. And this is not that. This is actually using some of the extended basic graphic commands, the few that do work properly with this mode. And just to start it off with a little demonstration, I recorded a little bit of time here of running the demo program that you will find on the disk image. And I will share that right now. This is a little bit in semigraphics 12. I just recorded like 15 seconds of it. And I will mention this is running at regular stock 0.895 megahertz speed. There's no speed up poke for the CoCo 1 and 2. There's no speed up poke for the CoCo 3. This is just, you turn the machine on and this you could just literally run this off a disc or cassette. So first of all, just to make sure you people are seeing a little spaceship up in the corner.
Yep.
We
Okie
are.
dokie. So I'm using some mixed text there. That text part, using it that way, will only work on the CoCo 1 or 2.
CoCo 1 and 2.
Or a Gimme X, if you're so lucky, equipped CoCo 3. Actually supports
Or
the semi-graphics modes.
VCC.
Yeah, or VCC, which is a bit buggy and lets this work when it shouldn't. Correct. Anyway, that's SG12. Now, technically, SG12 is a 64 by 96 mode with 9 colors, including black. I always include black. You can actually sneak a few other ones on a VDG-equipped CoCo. You can get the dark green background that you normally get with inverse character sets. Or you can switch the color set, too, which then adds a dark red and a sort of yellowish orange in between orange and yellow. So you can actually get, 10 colors on that screen. So I'll stop sharing that one. Kill that off. So I made a presentation here at Keynote that kind of goes through the modes and how it works, what commands are supported in weird ways. I will mention this is the first time I'd ever ran Keynote in my entire life. I've never made a presentation in PowerPoint before, so I was literally learning this program as I was going along. I was originally planning, because I started making it about 3 weeks ago, to go in and kind of clean it up after I figured out new ways of doing things better as I went along. But unfortunately, work got really busy, so you're going to get the raw, unfiltered, Curtis is a really slow learner type thing version of it. So you're going to see stuff that, definitely could be presented better. So my apologies ahead of time for this total amateur night here running Keynote. And with that, I'm going to share a screen, and then it should kick in, I hope.
Yep,
Okay,
that's
so you guys,
working.
Looks
Cool.
very nice.
yeah, that's because I haven't done anything yet, so I just put text on it, so that worked.
Oh, I thought that was the end of the show.
Now, I'm going to repeat quite a bit what's on the slides here, just because some people listen to this as an audio podcast. But because this is a graphics mode, obviously, you should actually go and watch this later on to see what exactly we're talking about. There's some diagrams and charts and stuff later on. And Nick's demo definitely will require actually visually watching it to see what he's doing. Nick will also go into some techniques that I will only very briefly touch upon in here, because he came up with some of these techniques himself, and he can explain them much better than I can. For things like, how to preload graphics, so taking extra RAM out of your basic program. I'll be going to more into which of the limited drawing commands you can actually use. So anyway, the title of the presentation, as Mark alluded to earlier, is Semigraphics 12 and 24 in Extended Basic. And these are techniques that will allow you to do some limited drawing. And the main part of what you can use is get put buffers with the higher semigraphics modes, 12 and 24. So semigraphics 12, I'll just call it 9 color for now. I always include black as a color. Is a 64 by 96, and semigraphics 24 is 64 by 192. So this is the same vertical resolution as P Mode 4 does, which actually gives you a fair bit. The 64 across does have a little bit of limitations. Now, if you're familiar with semigraphics 4, which technically is the low res on the CoCo 1 and 2, the Dragon, the MC10, CP400, etc. Technically, it's a 64 by 32 9 color mode, but you'll notice if you've ever done any drawing with set and reset, every 2 pixels has to be either black or a single color. And you can't mix 2 colors within that same, like, so pixels 0 and 1 have to be black, or pick a color green. You can't put green and blue next to each other. That goes for all semigraphics. That's because of how the VDG does this. And basically, if those of you are familiar with the character string command, I've probably fiddled with this before, you can actually do character strings, character numbers from 128 to 255, and those are your semigraphics blocks, as they're called. And that covers a little 2x2 pixel pattern where you can put black and one color, and it cycles through all the colors as you go through the character strings. Now, because we can control the vertical resolution, I'll get into the nitty-gritty of that a little bit later in the presentation. You can control it vertically. You can change colors vertically every single line. So your first line in 192 mode SG24, for example, it could be blue, and the next one could be green, the next one could be red, etc. So you do have control over the vertical, but you still have a bit of a limitation on the horizontal. So there are a few pokes you will need to do this, because we're going to have to tell BASIC to, sorry?
You might want to clarify, you're saying a line, you mean the line drawn with the line command.
Well, I'll be getting to that. This is just talking in broad strokes here at this point. Yeah.
You are losing me, that's all.
Yeah, just like the regular show. So there are a few pokes you'll be doing. Most of this is just to tell BASIC to stay the heck out of our way. BASIC has a thing called a print hook, and basically this is something that can get extended as they add just different ROMs, like extended BASIC, dis BASIC, super extended BASIC on a CoCo 3. And basically it's the hooks for the print routines and stuff. And basically what that will do is it'll reset the screen back to the regular text screen way too often. And we want to disable that so you can stay on the semigraphic screen. So that's one of them. There's also some pokes to just, fool the VDG into using semigraphics instead of a P mode. And then there's a final poke that Nick can probably talk a bit more about, because he's used it a lot more than I have, but it basically fools the CoCo 3 Gimme chip into letting you use the graphics only part of the screen. You won't be able to do the text without drawing your own text characters using graphics blocks. But on a CoCo 1 and 2, you with a VDG chip, you can actually draw the text characters, and you actually can mix them together, as we'll show a little bit later on.
That is definitely cool.
Okay. So the two chips that are the main stars of the show here are the 6847 VDG, which of course is the one the CoCo 1 and 2 have, the Dragon 32 and 64 have, the MC10 has, the CP400 has, all the clones, and the 6883, the SAM chip. It's a combination of these two that lets us do these higher semigraphics. If you just have the VDG, I think it maxes out SG6, if I remember, which is what the MC10 maxes out at, which is kind of a 64 by 48 virtual resolution. When you combine it with a SAM, because it mucks around with the memory map for the VDG, now you can introduce ones where you can cross-section the blocks and the characters into smaller and smaller vertical chunks. So basically, what is added that the VDG cannot do in its own? Graphic, semi-graphic, and text screens can all be located at any 512-byte boundary in RAM. This allows things like double buffering, pre-drawing multiple screens that you can instantly switch to. BASIC itself normally does not support this for text screens. A lot of machine language programs did, and I've even seen some BASIC games that use little, assembly language routines or pokes to do this kind of thing simulated. But you are allowed to do this in extended BASIC. If you guys are familiar with things like pclear, pcopy, the pmode command, the second option, the first option picks what graphics mode you want. The second one tells you what page do you want to start on. Now, BASICs is a lot coarser than the actual VDG and SAM is capable of doing. Pages on there are limited to 1.5K boundaries. So that's why pmode 4, for example, which is a 6K screen, actually has 4 points you can start at 0K, 1.5K, 3K, 4.5K. The SAM and VDG themselves together can actually do it on a 512-byte boundary, which is literally one standard text screen. You could actually just stack text screens right after each other. Semigraphics modes above the standard Semigraphics 4, which is the one we're all used to. That's set reset graphics from the original Color Basic manual, and also where 32 by 16 text screens are, can be used. There's SG6, which is 64 by 48, but is limited to 4 colors, and that's the one the MC10 actually does support, and Jim Gary has used it multiple times. SG8, which is 64 by 64 with 9 colors. That one, Nick and I tried. It would take patching BASIC to get it to handle this, and one of the things we did not want to do is have to patch BASIC to get any of the stuff to work. And also that means that people that have less than 64K of RAM can still use these techniques as well, because we're not modifying BASIC. We're just changing the print hook to get out of our way. And then there's some things we're doing to trick BASIC. And we'll get into the details of that. But basically, this is one mode that it doesn't match any P mode in the way it's memory mapped. So we just can't do that with these techniques. SG12, 64 by 96 with 9 colors. And NIC's demonstration will be using that. That little spaceship I showed at the beginning is also using that mode. An SG24, 64 by 192 with 9 colors. I will have a little mini demo at the end of my presentation before we get on to NIC's that will be demonstrating this mode. And I also will have some screenshots from some commercial machine language games that actually use this mode as well. Currently, only SG4 is supported by Color Basic and Extended Basic, and that's just your standard text screen with set reset graphics. Or is it?
Oh, where's the X-Files music?
I can't whistle, sorry.
Hey, Curtis.
Yeah.
I do have all the resources you have uploaded to Facebook under the CoCoTECH group, the CoCo Nation group, the TRS-80 Color Computer group, the TRS-80 Color Computer DFE group, and the Dragon group. So if anybody wants to see what you're talking about, they can download those now. I will also post them in the CoCoTECH section on the Discord in the next few minutes.
Yeah, there'll be 3 things included with that. There's the PDF version of this presentation. You can actually skip ahead on the slides and get ahead of my presentation there if you want to. There's also a disk image which contains some subroutine packages in BASIC as well as demos. And there's a text file describing the demos and how they work to some extent, and also some key sequences and stuff. There's a few caveats that we have to go through here too. So, okay, so limits and extra features if you're doing all semi-graphics modes. That you can mix text and 9-color graphics, including black, on the same screen. Text gets a bit complicated because you're not drawing the entire text character in one shot. Well, you can do it with certain commands, but the way it's built. These will, of course, only work in the CoCo 1 and 2, or the Gimme X, as we mentioned. Text characters can include inverse video, so you can get an extra 10th color, the dark green background, because if you've ever done the shift 0 and then filled the screen with that kind of character, you'll notice it's not a black background technically. It's actually a dark green background with light green lettering. So you can actually get that extra color in color set 0. That only gives you a horizontal resolution of 32, though, because that one you can't split into the 2x2 character blocks. You don't get the 2 pixels across per byte. You will only get the one full. But you can get that extra 10th color, the dark green. On original VDG chips with no true lowercase, so not the T1, color set 1 actually adds 2 additional colors. It replaces the green for the text character foreground, but leaves the green for the graphic block. So that green's still there. You can still use it. But it adds in the dark red background and a yellowish orange foreground, which will actually give you 11 colors. Now, those 2, the dark red and the yellowish orange, will also be limited to the 32 horizontal resolution because you have to do a whole byte. The T1 actually changed the color of the yellowish orange, so it acts, I think it exactly matches the regular orange. I'm not quite sure why they did that, but you kind of lost an extra color. You can still get the dark red, though, so if you want to use those, you can. These extra colors and text characters do not work on the CoCo 3 and the Gimme chip, though it will work on the Gimme X. And I'm hoping that once Alan gets the Gimme Z fully up and running, I know he's got the basic Gimme functionality basically working, and he hasn't added any of the new extra Gimme X features, but one thing that Ed Snyder definitely wanted on his was to eliminate this backwards incompatibility. It was one of the few things not compatible between the CoCo 1 and 2 and the CoCo 3. And they are enabled there. I've actually played some of the games that require these higher semigraphics modes, and they do work. So if either or both get back into production here, you should be able to start using those 2 and targeting a CoCo 3. But our demos here today will not be doing any of that fancy stuff except for a little bit of text demo on my part, or as you saw on the demo on the intro screen there. But we're going to be showing techniques that will work on all 3, like the CoCo 3 Gimme chip fooling it. You will be able to do everything we're going to be showing. Now, there is a poke on the Gimme that can simulate the higher semigraphics modes, which is what we're just alluding to, but it only does the graphics blocks. No text support at all. If you do try to print text characters, I believe it just prints a green square. So that's all you'll get. You can try, setting it to be a 0 or a 9 or an A or whatever else, and it's just going to be a green square every single time. So just be aware of that. If you're writing a game that you want to be able to run on all 3 levels of CoCo, CoCo 1, 2, and 3, then you will not want to use the actual text part of the VDG. You'll want to draw your numbers or digits or whatever using actual graphic drawing. If you've seen some of Nick's games, and I'll be showing a screenshot just shortly here, stuff like Pipes, Neutroid, the latest version, or latest 2 versions actually, Jumpin' Joey will all use that technique. And speaking of that, here's some examples of semigraphics. So on the far left there, on the bottom, you can see Jumpin' Joey. And this is one that is CoCo 3 friendly. So this graphics mode, he's using SG12, 64 by 96. So he's got 9 colors to choose from, and he's drawing his numbers like the score on the bottom left, the 210 you can see on the screen. That is using just drawing, using semigraphics blocks. So that will work in all the machines. No problem. It'll work across them all. The other 2 screenshots here are from the 2, I think, the best semigraphics 24 games we have on the CoCo. There are others, and the Dragon actually had a disproportionately high amount of semigraphics games, more than the CoCo did. The middle one is Protectors 2 by Synapse Software. This one you can see is mixing text and graphics for the score and level and high score. And if you take a look down lower on the buildings, you can see these little men characters. And now this is using a trick with semigraphics 24. As we mentioned before, you can't change the pixels going across on a text character, but you can change which character's printing on every scan line. So I can pick chunks of different characters, a line after line, and mix them together. And what they're doing here is they might be taking the top of a point of a capital A and then doing part of a, I don't know, I can't remember what character is the wide one. But basically, it's drawing these little men by using pieces. And it'll be probably a bit easier to explain this fully when I actually show you the slides and how these breakdowns actually work. But you can do some pretty nifty stuff here. Now, you are limited that these scan lines have to line up with what they would be under normal text conditions. So well, I'll wait until I get into that part of the presentation, but there are some limitations when you're doing the mixed text characters. And then one on the far right is, I think, Nick's favorite SG24 game called Guardian, which is the best Defender clone on the CoCo 1 and 2. And this one is using semigraphics for everything pretty well except for the score, which you can see on the upper left corner with score 40 type thing. And this actually uses a special one. This actually plays with the SAM even more than we'll be doing today, because it actually widens the screen past the edges. And I'm trying to remember, is it a 44-byte wide mode? I mean, technically what you're viewing on the screen is 32-byte. Comes 42 or 44, something like that. But basically the author used it to not have to worry about clipping, because you can actually just have the shape literally run off the side. And as soon as he detects it's completely off the screen, he just shuts it off. Normally you have to check, okay, he's scrolling off the left. How much of the ship is still on the screen? I got to move my pointers and, draw from that point on and blah, blah, blah. It gets more complicated, but his solution was to use this weird mode that I've never seen anybody else use that widens the screen to a virtual screen, and you can actually draw off, partly on and partly off. So. Yeah, why is it not? Oh, there we go. Okay, so using Extended Basic, which was never designed for semigraphics. It's designed for pure quote-unquote graphics modes. These are your P modes. There are other P modes too that actually Basic does not support. For example, is a 64 by 64 4-color mode. And for those of you that had the original big honking color Basic manual, the second revision for the CoCo 1, the advanced technical section, which is missing from the original version of the manual, actually does have some pokes and stuff in a program at the end of that section that actually shows you how to enable that mode. And you can fiddle with that even on a 4K machine. So what we're wondering here, though, is what can we get to work with semigraphics modes at all using basic commands? So after experimentation by Nick and myself, the answer is yes, but to a limited extent. And we need a few pokes to be able to set this up to work. First of all, as I had mentioned before, we need to disable the print hook in BASIC, and that's a poke 35957 to disable the print hook, and you can turn it back on for normal operation with a poke 359, 126. BASIC normally resets the VDG settings every time a character is printed or a graphics command is issued, and we need to disable that because otherwise it'll just flip it back, to a standard SG4 mode. For those of you that have a bit of machine language experience, what the 2 pokes are doing, the first one is basically just putting an RTS in the print hook. So when the print hook gets executed, it just comes right back to where it came from. And POC 359.126 is basically to change it back to a jump instruction so it actually goes into basic. Where it goes depends on what level of basic you have. Color basic has one. There's a separate entry point for extended basic that will then fall through to color basic. And if you have disc basic, it goes to disc first, then extended, then color. And you have a super extended on the CoCo 3, well, you got to add that in the mix too. So it's fairly complicated. We're not going to get into too many details here. Basically, we're just going to shut it off or turn it back to normal. Note, you must be careful. The print hook must be enabled before any disc or cassette I/O, particularly when you're writing sequential files or reading sequential files, because the print hook is also used by writing to cassette, writing to disk files. And if you have it disabled, you might have some stuff not writing to the file properly or writing to the file at all. So if you're going to be doing that kind of I/O in your program using semigraphics, you want to be able to turn that back on to normal with the POC 359.126. Do any manipulation with files you need to do, and then you can shut it back off again. There's also the problem that once this print hook is disabled, and we're telling extended basic basically to leave our screen alone, it means that when you hit the break key to exit your program, it's going to keep displaying the semigraphic screen, which is in a totally different part of memory than where your regular text screen is. So you won't be able to see anything. There's two ways to fix that. You can blindly type in POC 359.126, and then it'll, as long as you didn't make any typing mistakes, it'll come back to normal. You'll be able to see your screen again. And in fact, I use that when debugging some of this stuff. The other thing is too, you can hit reset, because the reset button will actually reset basics vectors to normal. You won't lose your program unless you did something really wonky in the program to begin with. So your program will be fine, but you won't be able to print a variable or something if you're trying to debug something. So the POC 359.126 might come in handy if you have to break out in the middle of the program. Now, what I've usually done, and what I think Nick has usually done as well, is we have it so that whatever program we're writing, we have a hotkey. We just do an in key string, Q for quit, for example, and then we'll have it go do that poke for us before it ends. And that way you can kind of cleanly exit out and you'll get the screen back, your text screen, so you can see what you're doing. But you can do it blindly like this too if you have to. So additional pokes that we need to do. So once we've fooled BASIC into not resetting the screen every time, we need to reset the GM0, GM1, and GM2 bits at FF22. Now this controls the mode. This one is also where if you have a T1 VDG, you might recognize that memory address of FF22. That is where you can set like true lowercase, inverse video, full border color. We're using that exact same register, except now we're going to be doing it for the semigraphics mode, which is some other extra bits. In order to use the extended basic commands that can work with higher semigraphics modes, we must pick a mode that is compatible with how extended basic handles irregular graphic screens. As I mentioned earlier, only two of these modes will actually work properly with extended basic. That's SG12, 64 by 96, or SG24, 64 by 192. As I mentioned before, SG8 will not, and SG6 will not. And it's basically because you need to have a mode that is exactly 32 bytes wide. And the lower graphics modes that extended basic has that we're hijacking their functionality from are sometimes not 32 bytes wide. To work on a CoCo 3, you must also add an additional poke to let the gimme simulate the mode. And proper text characters will not work. I cannot emphasize that enough. You will have to draw on your own little graphics, digits for scores, etc. So design a game with its own graphic characters and numbers in order to work on all three CoCos and Dragons. So that one, you can do poke and H FF9C, 9. That will fool the gimme into simulating an SG12 mode. And poke F and H FF9C, 10 will fool it into running the semigraphics 24 mode.
And you still need the CoCo 1 and 2 pokes.
Yes. Yeah, you still need, basically the safest way is just to put them all in there, because the CoCo 3 specific poke won't do anything on a CoCo 1 or 2. It won't cause a problem at all. It'll just be as if you put a rem in or something. So I always just put them all in, because then it works on both and I don't have to worry about it. Now, this is something annoying about extended basic, and I'm sure some of you have encountered this too, especially if you're switching between different P modes with different screen resolutions in real life. Extended basic scales all P modes to fit using pixel definitions of 0 to 255 and 0 to 191. So it's 256 by 192, even if the real screen resolution is nowhere near that. So you need to adjust that if you're using semigraphics 12, because you have to multiply your Y coordinates by 2, because it's going to scale them. So if you do a semigraphics 12, or P mode 1 for that matter, a 96 line high screen, and you do a P set or if you use some of the commands we'll be showing you shortly here for semigraphics, if you put a piece set on line 0 and then put another one on line 1, you're only going to get 1 pixel because it scales that and it becomes the same line as far as it's concerned. It's doing the first line of a 96 line high screen. And this is annoying as hell when you're trying to do calculations. And this is annoying as hell when you're doing P mode as well. I kind of understand why Microsoft did it, because I think they originally meant it so that you could easily switch a program you're writing between P modes. Like you're doing it P mode 4 and you're going, oh, I want this to run in 16K and I'm not going to have enough RAM. I'll just switch it to P mode 2, which takes half the RAM, and I don't have to change in the coordinates because it'll automatically work. But as people have discovered tricks like the get put buffer fast puts, I will be talking about that apply here as well. And I've also demonstrated in a previous previous episode of CoCoTECH. You have to calculate around all that crap to get it to run properly. So I find it more annoying than helpful. So just be aware of that. The other one here is one that Nick will go into a bit more detail on, but there's a neat trick that he discovered if you have enough RAM to do it. You can reserve 4 pages, which is enough for an SG24 screen, and you reserve that using P mode 4 and P-clear. And tell BASIC that it's a 192 line screen, so you can do a P mode 4, but then you set the VDG for SG12. Now that means that the display is only to display a 2-page screen, a 96 line high screen. And that makes all the Y coordinates 1-to-1. So if I'm drawing on that first screen and I do from 0 to 95, it's literally going to be line 0 to 95 on the screen. You don't have to do any calculations. You don't have to double pixels up. And it gives you the added bonus if you wanted to use page flipping or have a second screen as a status screen or something else like that. You can just add 96 to your coordinates. It'll print it on the second screen. You still have to do a screen command to tell it to switch over to view it, but you can actually use double buffering techniques and everything else, and it actually works pretty slick. And that's something I had not even thought of, and Nick thought of. So thank you, Nick, for that. In fact, I think you're using it in your demo that you'll be showing at the end too, correct?
Yeah, for an explosion effect.
Cool. Now, if you watch the software portion of CoCoTECH episode 0B, is that like beta, Mark? I can't remember why we called it B. No, I think he's got to unmute himself first.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have a streamline set up here for unmuting me quickly. As I recall, it was one of the early ones, and it was like you had like an A and a B. That was like the very first couple episodes we kicked out. Okay. So that's why it's 00B or 000.
So those are like unofficial beta episodes or something.
Yeah, kind of like official like pre-release. Pre-release. Yeah.
Okay. And now we're on a numbered scheme. So
yep, now we're on a numbered scheme.
Okay. So anyway, if you watch episode B and you jump to about 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 34 seconds into it, you can see a demonstration of using BASIC's foreground color mask poke. Now, normally BASIC handles this little byte by itself, and it's basically a bit mask for the 2 and 4 color modes in P mode. And it's basically a way for it to speed up if you're doing a command that is just going to be drawing multiple pixels in a row horizontally. Rather than you have to calculate and do every single pixel every single time, it can actually get that byte. And then just, if it knows it's going to be using the full value, like all 4 pixels or all 8 pixels, it'll do them all at once. And I actually showed in that particular one, you can use that to, change a color mask for, say, a paint command or a line box fill command. And it'll actually, you can get, vertical patterns. You can actually have alternating thick lines, thin lines, different colors. It's a way to do artifact colors too. This same technique, using the exact same poke, will let us control all 9 colors in semigraphics 12 or 24. Now I want to do one quick little mention. For those of you familiar with how semigraphics works and how the poking of text characters on the regular text screen works, it's the same thing. Because BASIC's being kind of hijacked to do this in a way it wasn't designed to, the poke values will not be the same as what you're used to. Now, Nick and I went through and figured out some tables of this, and it's included on the disk image too, so you guys don't have to figure it out there, which I'll get into a little bit later. But just be aware that if you're poking directly to the screen or used to doing that, you won't get the same results you're expecting with this Poke 178 here. Now, we will use P mode 4 for the semigraphics 24 because it's the exact same screen setup, 32 bytes wide by 192 bytes high, 4 pages reserved. That's the exact same amount of RAM, 6K, with the VGG pokes added. And P mode 1 we'll be using for semigraphics 12. This is one that is set up for 32 bytes wide, but 96 lines high. And Nick will be doing a bit more on that particular one. These P modes set up BASIC to the correct screen size for both X and Y sizes in bytes, which allows some of the graphic commands and extended BASIC to work with those. It also does the memory allocation properly. Also sets up the start address of the screen properly. So it's doing a lot of the work for us that we normally would have to figure out on our own. So what extended basic commands are compatible with semigraphics in 24? And which ones are partly compatible and which ones forget it? So the first one we're going to cover is pclear, and that's the one that reserves the number of graphic pages. The default pclear that Extended Basic does on power up, so as soon as you turn on, if you're wondering why on a 16K machine you only get 8K free with a print mem, that's because Extended Basic reserved 4 pages, enough for a P mode 3 or 4 screen, which is 6K for graphics. So if you want to get more memory back and you don't need a graphic screen, you can do a pclear 1 or something like that to cut it down. So basically the pclear 4 that Extended Basic defaults to is enough to hold 1 SG24 screen or 2 SG12 screens. And you can reserve up to a maximum of 8 with pclear 8, and probably a lot of you are familiar with that already. Or you can go down to 2 if you plan on using just a single SG12 screen and no double buffering. And this will actually return 3K more to your basic program, so you actually will have some more room. So it's going to be up to you, depending on what type of a game or application you're writing, whether you're going to be using fancy techniques like page flipping, or you're just going to do it all hammered on the screen at once, like the text adventure game, or sorry, a text adventure game. If you're, say, doing a CoCo 1.2.1 and you want to use the higher semi-graphics, you may not need to do anything fast on the screen and have moving sprites and stuff. You might just want to draw something. You may not need the extra double page thing, so you can actually get the 3K back for the actual game itself. P mode. Both parameters, P mode has 2. The first is the graphics mode you're selecting, which tells it how big the screen is going to be, what resolution it is, how many bytes wide, by how many bytes high the screen is. And the second parameter, which is the start page number. Both of those work fine for using this technique. So you can use that to set up your double buffering. And as we mentioned before, if you want to do SG12, use P mode 1. And if you want to use SG24, use P mode 4. And those will actually set up basic to the right screen size and stuff so that some of the other graphics commands work properly. The start page number will also function properly, as we mentioned before, which can you use for double buffering, or in the case of SG12, up to 4 screens if you want to. You just offset them by 2 each time. So comma 1, comma 3, comma 5, comma 7. That'll give you 4 full screens. So if you want to make a 4x4 racing car game, you can literally have the car go up one screen, point to the next one, draw your car in there, and continue driving around in circles. P-copy. This works totally normally. In fact, Nick and I use it in both of our demos to do things faster that other commands can do, like clearing a screen. Unfortunately, PCLS is not one that does work. PCLS does not use the color mask byte at all. It has its own hard-coded routine with some multiplication to calculate the bit pattern that it's going to use. And because of the way we're fooling basic to use semigraphics, it does not match to any pure colors at all. You get weird text character stuff. So unfortunately, you cannot use PCLS. So there's a couple ways to clear a screen. One is just to use the line command with the comma BF box fill and do it that way, which works perfectly fine. It is a bit slow. If you need a bit more speed, the technique that Nick and I have been using is to basically use the line BF to draw part of the screen, enough to fill one page, and then use pcopy to do the rest because it's a lot faster. The line command, and this is one of the critical ones if you're going to be doing your own drawing and stuff. Aside from the special Poke 178 to simulate the color command, that's what you'll be using it for. You'll be using it to simulate the color command for the foreground color. And then a line has to start and end on an even byte boundary, which I'll explain later with a table to help you figure it out without you having to do a bunch of math. Both a perfectly horizontal line and a box-filled line work fine. So you can do either a single line horizontally, any coordinates across as long as they're on the even byte boundaries. And you can do a box of the same restrictions horizontally, but any height you want that fits on the screen will work fine. Other forms can be tried, but the results won't be probably what you're expecting. Maybe you can use them for some weird special effects, so feel free. Actually, I will say that all the other commands that don't technically get supported properly here will run, but you'll get some really weird results. Now, maybe you can use some of those like to make the equivalent of static on a TV screen, or I don't know, draw some really weird things that are vaguely circle shaped or something. The command will still run. It won't error out or anything. It won't display pure colors. It'll display a mix of who knows what. Some might be graphics colors mixed together with some text stuff. And try it if you want. You probably can get some interesting effects out of it. The draw command. This has the same restrictions as the line command. It's limited to horizontal lines on even byte boundaries, same as line command. I will mention you can do with the line command, you can do a vertical line, but you're going to have to do it on even byte boundary, and you'll have to use the special color array that we're going to be talking about shortly to get the proper results. So you can draw vertical lines as well. Now, these are the critical ones. Get. You cannot use the G option. The G option tells it to make a bit perfect copy. And this is meant to do when you're going to be doing get puts that are shifting by partial bytes. So if you are on a 4-color screen, that means you actually can't shift. If you shifted a single pixel, it has to do a whole bunch of internal shifts to get the display image properly for the put. It's a lot slower, and it's one of the reasons get put buffers on a lot of CoCo games are quite slow. Because Microsoft included a hidden option that's not mentioned in the manual. It was mentioned in October 1982 Rainbow. I think it's the first place I saw it. But there is an option if you don't use the comma G and you make sure your get puts are on even byte boundaries, it's smart enough to actually draw them without doing bit shifts at all. So it runs way faster, like literally several times faster, if not more, depending on the size of the get put. So because we're going to have to do even byte boundaries here because of the way semigraphics works, you cannot use the G option. It will actually totally screw up and you'll get completely unexpected results. So just right up front, don't use that. Put. This must also start on an even byte boundary. And I should mention here that the even byte boundaries only affects, going across left to right. You can use any Y coordinate that your mode supports just fine. So you can move things up and down by a single pixel easily, but you can't move them horizontally that way. Except that there's a little bit of a difference when you're doing actual VDG text characters, but I'll explain that a little bit later. Now, a pleasant side effect of the way we use get put on even byte boundaries means we get to take advantage of the undocumented fast version of the commands that Microsoft built in, as I mentioned. And TRSA Retro Programming, who I believe is actually watching us live now, has put up on YouTube some videos demonstrating those using regular P modes, because those also speed up graphics on regular P modes. And that was some stuff code that me and one other guy had sent in to him to try, including the screen scrolling, where you can actually scroll the entire screen of P mode 1 or 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. You can scroll the entire screen using just get put. That's also critical using the proper calculation of what to dim for a get put buffer. And we just talked about that on CoCo Nation recently. And I know TRSA Retro Programming, that was one of his videos that kind of inspired us to talk about that, is because the color basic manual, or extended color basic manual, is completely wrong in how to calculate that. It's telling you to use way too much RAM, like an order of magnitude too much. Alan Huffman did a good blog post on it, and of course our episode also covered it as well. So definitely go check that out. I'm not going to explain that in this because it's already been explained before recently. But it definitely helps speed up the graphics, and semi-graphics modes included in that. So you will get speed ups from what you normally would have had. So be aware of that, but also you should just learn that technique for even just doing regular P mode graphics. And as mentioned above, any Y position may be used, with the caveat from the previous slide that you will need to double your Y coordinates if using semigraphics 12, and you only reserve the one screen. If you did the 2 screens, you can use Nick's trick. But in that case, if you want to draw a line from vertical 0 to vertical 48, you'll actually have to do 0 to 96 to get it to go to the height you're expecting, because of that automatic scaling that Microsoft put in, which annoys me to no end. So get put commands will likely be the commands that you use the most. You will see this both in my upcoming demo and you'll really see it in Nick's demo. It's actually the critical part of his demo. Now, extended basic graphics commands that we can simulate in semi-graphics, which means there's not a direct extended basic command we can use to do it, but we can kind of fool things into doing things. So PCLS, and we mentioned this a little bit before, but this will get in a bit more detail. So PCLS is one of the extended basic commands that totally ignores the foreground color mask, the POK 178. And it's hard-coded to only use 2 or 4 colors in a regular graphics mode. And these do not match any of the semi-graphics colors. If you try to do a PCLS 0 to 3, it will clear the screen, but it'll be filled in with 0 being inversed at signs. PCLS 1 will do inverse 9s. PCLS 2 will do regular non-inversed 2s. and PCLS3 will give you a blue pattern of blocks. So not quite what you want for a PCLS command, unless you want one of those for some reason. So we can simulate it, though, as I mentioned before. So to get around this, you can use the line with the box fill option, comma BF, which is a little slow, but it'll do it. But if you need it to be done faster, there's a couple ways you can do that. One is you can clear one page's worth using the line with BF, and then just p-copy that page to the other pages. This will be especially noticeable on an SG24 screen because you'll be copying one page to 3 more pages. So those 3 will be much faster than drawing with line. Or you can use a get, and actually, if you learn how to do the dim so that you're not wasting a ton of memory, you can actually get a full width portion of the screen using however many lines you want and have room for, and then just put that over and over again to fill in the screen that way. In fact, you can use that to do like wipes, because you can start at the bottom of the screen and come up and fill the screen, or come from the top to the bottom. And you can do it like 1 line, 2 line, 4 lines, 8 lines, 10 lines, 13 lines at a time, whatever you want to do. As I mentioned before, you should definitely go check out on Huffman or our previous video on calculating the real amount you need to dim, because it's far, far less than what the manual tells you. The manual would have you run out of 32K of RAM trying to like grab half the screen, and grabbing half the screen should only take 3K. Okay, next up, color. Now, since colors are calculated totally differently for semi-graphics modes compared to regular graphics modes, we're going to be using that foreground color mask cheat, which is poke 178. That controls the default foreground color mask, basically a poke on the graphics screen as to what pixels will be lit up in an entire byte for whatever color you've got. We'll be using this instead of the color command itself. Now, as we'll show on the next slide, the demo disk image that we're releasing today has some pre-created arrays to make this as easy as possible. And it also has some controls over which half of the byte you're going to be putting pixels on, because semi-graphics modes, you get 2 of the 9 colors per byte. So the left half, you control the color or black, and the right half, you control the color or black, and you can do both in full color or both black. And that the charts will be showing, and also the arrays that we've pre-done for you will have that on the disk image. The 2 basic program snippets, and like Mark had mentioned, he's already uploaded these. You can grab them if you want to take a look, or you can grab them after the show and kind of go through them then. I purposely saved the 2 ones called subs. There's SG12 subs.bas and SG24 subs.bas. Those are ASCII format. So they'll take a little bit longer to load, and you'll be wondering, why did I do that? Well, the main reason is you can actually use the merge command in Disk Basic then to merge it into an existing program you have, and it'll just merge those line numbers in without trashing your old program. So
Curtis,
this makes it, yep.
Did you see Erico's question about point?
No,
and
unfortunately, my phone went and shut off the screen.
Gotcha.
Go ahead, ask it, and I'll answer it now.
Oh, he just
actually,
said,
if you just jump in if anybody asks questions too, because I can't see it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to monitor that here. Yeah, I said point and P point return anything useful. P point, if it were at P mode 1 through 4, I guess. So would point and P point work at all in semigraphics 12 or 24? Or is that just limited to the first
yeah,
few?
point will not, and P point will not return the correct results, because P point is only going to check 1 or 2 bits out of a byte. And
Gotcha.
semigraphics needs more than that. It needs all 8 bits to define what color's there. So it won't produce any useful results, unfortunately.
No shortcut there.
Nope. You can peek the screen. I think even Nick does that, and actually get the raw byte value.
In some parts, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that there is a way to do it, just not with point or P point. Any other questions before we continue? Or?
That's the only one I see.
Okay. So anyway, there'll be the 2 subroutine packages, one for SG12, one for SG24. It has all the proper pokes. It's got REM statements to tell you which each lines you do a go sub to go, enable this mode, and set up the arrays for your different colors and stuff, which we'll get into a little more. So it'll save you having to do all this research yourself. Other graphics commands. Now you can technically try, as I mentioned earlier, other commands like circle and paint, etc. And Extended Basic will run them, but results will likely not be what you expected. I would take the likely out and actually say they will not be what you expect. But you feel very experiment. Some of these unexpected results might actually be cool effects in a game or something like that. So especially stuff like paint or circle, it's going to be weird. You'll see a circular-ish thing appear on the screen of a mix of a whole bunch of different characters and colors and stuff. It might look pretty cool. I'm not sure. maybe we'll have some people come on the show next week and they can actually, show us some pretty cool stuff they came up with, but I won't be covering that here. Now, next up, we have figured out even byte X coordinates, so you don't have to. So using getPut for semigraphics, it's absolutely mandatory to use the even byte sped up version of getPut, the optimized one, not using the comma G option as we mentioned before. But that's always been confusing. Like I know when I was trying to explain to Tier City Retro Programming how to do that on the graphics screen, it's complicated because it depends what mode you're in, how many colors are in your mode, and you have to adjust your math depending on that, etc. So it's a bit complicated. It's a bit simpler in this case, somewhat. We just decided to tell you exactly what you need to do. And the nice thing is SG12 and SG24 use the exact same table because it's all based in X coordinate and it's based on the screen being 32 bytes wide. And both of these modes are. So if you are writing a game, a graphics demo, etc., the most often used commands you'll likely use are line, get, and a put. And all of these will use these even byte X coordinates. They need to start and end horizontally on even byte boundaries to work as expected. The following table will list the start and end X coordinates that you should always use. You should not go outside of these boundaries unless you're doing something weird to get the results that you're expecting. There will be, because this is a 32 byte widescreen for both semigraphics 12 and semigraphics 24, there will be 32 possible start and 32 possible end coordinates. Now you can mix any of them. Like you want to make a box or a getPut buffer box or a line that is more than a few pixels wide. You can pick any of the starts and then any of the ends, and there's two different columns. And as long as you pick one of those and you pick from the right column, the start has to come from the start column, the end has to come from the end column, then it should work fine and do exactly what you're expecting it to do, allowing you various widths. Now, because of the way semigraphics graphic blocks work and the fact it's completely differently than the way memory map graphics work for the regular P modes, there's a separate table I'll be showing for setting color values. And this is the stuff you will poke into 178 to get. There will be a full byte wide graphic, which means the color will be filling both pixels in the byte, like say both blue or whatever. And you also have the left half and the right half, where the other one, if you're doing the left half, the left would be blue, for example, the right part of it would be black. And if you're doing the right part, a right pixel, it would be the left pixel will be black and the right pixel will be blue within the byte. That's how you get your 64 pixels going across, even though it's a 32 by wide screen. Like set reset graphics, if you're familiar with using those in Color Basic, each byte can only have two colors, black or the color you picked. And you may have seen this. In fact, I think we just saw it on Game On Challenge last week when we were playing Dang It. If you see you're setting a pixel, it sometimes changes the color of the pixel adjacent to it, even when you didn't tell it to do that. That's because Basic has to pick, because that 2x2 block has to be the same color and black. You can't mix colors. So if you're changing the color of one of them in that block, all the others will change too. And then you must make sure the start X is always less than the end X when using line with box fill and getPut. I'm not positive actually that's true on line. I know it is on getPut. They don't let you do backwards. So the actual chart itself, and this you can just get out of the PDF that Mark has kindly uploaded everywhere for people to learn from this. And I was trying to figure a way to word this properly so it's understandable. I don't know if I succeeded. So if you have any questions, please feel free to fire them off. But you'll see here, I've got columns. I got start X coordinate pixel. I got equivalent semigraphics pixel number. So the start X coordinate pixel is what you'll be telling Basic to do. And you'll see it jumps. It goes 0, 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56. Skip over 2 columns, and then it continues on at 64. So it's all +8 from the previous. And that's to do the even byte boundary calculation that Basic is going to use to figure out what byte on the screen it's going to be drawing to. The equivalent semigraphics pixels will tell you if you start at that X coordinate pixel for a line command or a getPut command, the equivalent pixels 64 across that semigraphics uses, that's what pixels will be affected. So if you do 0 as your, say, line 0, 0, for example, the X coordinate 0 there will be pointing to the byte that has semigraphics pixels 0 and 1, and those go 0 to 63, 64 across. And then I've got the rest of the chart on the top half will fill in everything else. So you're doing all 64 pixels of semigraphics or 32 of 256 pixels for the equivalent that Extended Basic will want to use to do it properly, going by 8s. The bottom half is basically the same table except with the end coordinates. These would be odd. So the first byte worth of 2 semigraphics pixels, as far as Extended Basic is concerned, that will be pixels 0 through 7. So if you want to do a line BF, you want to draw a vertical line, you would do a line from say 0, 0 to 7, 15 for a 16 pixel high line, comma BF, and it'll fill in properly with whatever color you poked into 178. And it will draw that line vertically for you properly. And you'll have to pick which array if you want like a half width line or a full width, full byte width line. So as far as the colors go, that's a much easier chart, as you can see here. So we've included 3 different arrays that are built into the subroutine packages that are on the disk image you can download. CF, which is color full, and that's full byte 2 pixel wide color values. And CF0 through CF8, you would just poke that value. So if I wanted to use color 4, I would do poke 178, comma CF sub 4 sub, or parentheses, or parentheses. And I've specifically mapped these so that the 0 through 8 is the exact same colors you do with set reset graphics in Color Basic. So 0 is black, 1 is green, 2 is yellow, 3 is blue, blah, 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 up to 8 is orange. So you don't have to learn new colors. You just have to remember to use CF. And then you have CL, which is the exact same things, except it only is going to print the left pixel and leave the right pixel black. And then you got CR, which will only print the right pixel with the color and the left pixel will be black. So basically, if you want to do a thin line, like a single pixel wide semigraphics, you would pick one of CL or CR, depending on whether you want the left or the right. And if you want a bigger, thicker one, you would use a CF. And if you want to draw a big filled in, rectangular box with the line BF command, then you'd probably use CF for the whole thing. And then, as I mentioned here, here's your actual color chart with the colors exactly matching what you're used to in Color Basic. Now, as I talked about on the CoCoTECH B episode, you just simply poke 178, array of the CF or CL or CR with the value of the color you want before you do a line or before you do a draw command or something like that. It's going to be using those types of drawing commands. And you don't use the color command itself. If you use the color command itself, it's going to do its internal basic calculation. Then you'll get some weird effect with the letters and stuff again. So you're basically not going to use the color command at all, unless you specifically want, inverse stat signs for some reason. You would always be using the poke 178. Just consider that to be a replacement for the color command. And I've got a couple examples here I've got on the screen here of just the specific. So 2 examples using SG24, which is 64:192 pixel resolution. So example 1, draw a 1 pixel wide red line at the far left of the screen from the top to the bottom. So I do a poke 178, CL, parentheses 4 parentheses. So that's color left, so the left pixel. The color 4 will be red. So we're going to be using the left red pixel, the right pixel of the byte will be black. And then we just do a line 0, 0 to 7, 191. Now, if you look at the previous chart, you'll remember that 0 is an even byte boundary start position and 7 is an even byte boundary end position. So that's an entire byte. We're fooling Extended Basic into treating this properly. And then the line for the vertically from 0 to 191 means the entire height of the screen, every single pixel vertically. And then comma P set. Oops, I should have had a BF on there. Comma BF, add that on to the end of the P set. So basically that will draw a vertical red line that covers the left. Example 2, draw a filled blue box. We're going to want it from pixels 18, 40 to 45, 151. That's your Extended Basic equivalent. So you poke 178 CF3, which will give us the blue color. And then 72, 40 to 183, 151, P set BF. And the BF will tell it to fill in the entire byte with the pattern, and it'll draw a completely filled blue box in the semigraphics 24 for you. So to get a little bit in the technical, and I've kind of covered this, so I might just skim this a little bit. The technical explanation as to why we need the different arrays for the colors. The reason is that we're boring Extended Basic graphic routines for modes that they were never intended to do. The original Extended Basic routines are meant for 1 or 2 bits per pixel. 1 would be 2 color modes like P mode 4, 2, and 0. And then 4 color modes would be P mode 1 and 3. This means that 8 or 4 pixels per byte respectively. So 2 color, every bit is a pixel. There's 8 pixels or 8 bits in a byte. And then for a 4 color mode, it's every 2. bits is a pixel. So 00 would be, I'd say we're doing P mode 3, color set 0. 00 would be green, 01 would be yellow, 10 would be blue, and 11 would be red. And then you have 4 sets of those per byte. Now, semigraphics, of course, don't work that way at all, and we're hijacking those routines. So these arrays, we've actually gone through, and because of the weird way that extended basic actually computes these bit masks themselves, we have to use some rather odd poke values in there. So we do all those in there in those arrays for you, so you don't have to figure them all out like we did. And then you can just use the colors you already know from 0 to 8 and just pump that in, and whether you want left, right, or both pixels lit up. Since we have to use even byte pixels for all X coordinates, and we have to deal with an entire byte at a time, otherwise extended basic will start trying to do its own internal pixel calculations and mess up all of our drawing. We need separate arrays for the left and right pixel within a byte as well as the full byte. And both pixels in the same byte have to be the same color or black. And we've kind of covered that already. So,
Question for me?
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking about the dragon here. Even though the dragon basic is retokenized, all that internals are the same. So these arrays should work just fine on the dragon.
And that is another reason I save the subroutine packages in ASCII basic, because then you can load that directly on the dragon and it'll retokenize as it loads, and they don't have to do anything different.
We don't have dragon disk format for this stuff, but you can use an emulator like XROR, pull the thing up, and then save those out and get them on whatever.
Yeah, or we use one of the disk utilities to transfer it over. Since it is ASCII format, that'll, even if you just transfer it over as ASCII, you can just load it in. Yeah. Actually, I might grab Kieran or somebody just to blast out a disk image for the dragon people.
Yeah, I figured we'd ask him nicely. It's posted on the dragon group on Facebook. So yeah, anybody should be able to grab that and convert it if they need. So,
or if they're sadomasochists, they can retype the whole thing in.
We could do that too.
Okay, so now we're going to get something that's a bit more CoCo 1.2 specific, or Dragon specific in this case. So this is using text characters and numbers in semigraphics modes. This will not work in the CoCo 3 with the little cheat poke, just so you're aware. That's where if you want it to work in all 3, you should draw any digits or characters you want using semigraphics blocks, and maybe make them get put buffers. You can draw them on the screen pretty quick that way. Actually, Dick will be demoing that on his. So here the programmer has to make a choice. CoCo 1, 2, 3 and Dragon compatible, draw digits and any letters using colored pixels only like Nick does to ensure that they display the same in all CoCo models, including the CoCo 3. You can do this manually with line or draw statements. That can be a little bit slow, but it does work. And if your game's not really speed intensive at whatever part you're making any digits or characters, that might be fine. Or you can draw them when your program starts and then get them and then put them on the screen as needed. Now remember, because we are using the enhanced full throttle speed hidden Microsoft version of even byte get puts, which is way, way faster, these will also be way, way faster. So these will actually run quite well. Now this does take more RAM. You can save some of the RAM by doing a trick that Nick will go into a bit more detail of in his demo. He actually will be able to visually show you how it works. You can make a little loader program that draws a lot of these things on the screen in the first basic program. So you're drawing like digits 0 through 9, maybe A through Z. And then you run the second program with that screen still loaded. You don't even have to show it to the user. You can just, call it loader or something. And when you run the second program, the first thing it's going to do is dim arrays for get put buffers and then get them all off the screen. Now they're stored in get put buffers. Now you can wipe that screen clean and then draw whatever your game is, and your get put buffers are ready to go. But all the RAM you would have taken with all the drawing commands to draw these digits doesn't have to be there anymore because that was in the first program. So you can save some memory. And Nick's even got another way you can do it, which he'll get into when he gets into his part of the demo. These, of course, will be CoCo 1 and 2 and Dragon compatible only, or GimeX. They're using the actual digits to build in a VDG chip itself. So this is the second option, and this is if you don't care about CoCo 3 compatibility. Because semigraphics supports every single text character the VDG is capable of doing, including some you can't normally get from BASIC. So there's, I think, 64 uppercase letters, numbers, symbols, and then there's inverse versions of all of those as well. So you can access all of those. This allows you to do some pretty cool things and possibly free up some memory, because now I don't have to make tables of how to draw these things. I just literally tell it, I want to draw an A. So I want to draw a little box with the A character, and it'll fill in all the actual pixels right off the VDG itself. There are some limitations in the quirks when you're starting to do the mixed modes and stuff like that. So on the next 3 slides here, we're going to go over the SG4 set reset graphics support in BASIC, how that works, and then how SG12 and SG24 work to help people visualize, and I think this is something that people have tried fiddling with semigraphics. It's a little bit hard to understand until it's visualized. So SG4, this is your standard set reset graphics that everybody's familiar with. It's 1 byte per character or graphics block. Now, in this particular example, I have an actual VDG, original VDG, not a T1. Everything shifts up on a T1 VDG, and some of the characters are changed to make room for lowercase descenders, which did cause problems on some games like Protectors 2, but we'll get to that later. So basically, every byte is a full character or a full block. The graphics blocks are 2 by 2 large pixels, and every character cell, and I've got 2 character cells shown here, one for the capital B and then one for a left half blue block. So it's got 2 vertical pixels of blue and 2 vertical pixels of black. As far as the VDG is concerned, internally, it's an 8 by 12 pixel character cell. So all your characters are literally 8 by 12 pixels if you want to count the dots. SG4 fits 512 bytes or 512 characters on the screen, which is your 32 by 16 screen you're used to from, our nuclear green days. And you can use a set reset in Color Basic to use 64 by 32 resolution, which is basically treating each of the pixels within the graphic character blocks as separate pixels. Once again, you get the color bleed thing. They have to be the same color in the same square of 8 by 12. So you can't mix blue and orange, for example. You can only mix black with one other color. So those, I think, most of us are somewhat familiar with. So how do the semi-graphics characters work? Well, they work like this. You're still limited to the 8 by 12 pixels per character block. What you can do is you can start dividing which parts you're putting in each set of lines vertically. So in SG12, basically every 2 lines, you can switch characters on the next 2 lines and switch characters on the next 2 lines. So those little white bars I got going across here are kind of showing you the dividing line. So in SG12, instead of having 1 byte controlling the entire 8 by 12 character cell, I've now got 6 bytes controlling that, and the horizontal is exactly the same as you're used to. The vertical will then take every 2 lines in SG12, and then you can change the character as you go, or you can just print them. Like if I want to print B, I would do the same character code for B 6 times vertically, and it'll fill in and draw the B. But that also lets me do things like I'm going to pick the first 2 or 4 lines from the B, and then I'm going to switch to the letter A for 2 lines, and then switch to an exclamation mark for the next. And you can actually mix the characters together in these little chunks and create new ones. That's what Protectors does to draw those little men waving on the top of the buildings. It's mixing text characters, just pieces of them together. The thing is, you have to remember when you're doing this is that you're not changing to any part of a character cell vertically that you want. You have to follow the original 8 by 12 grid so that it actually is in the same spot. You can't shift them up or down within. Now, you might be able to simulate shifting them up and down if you find some characters that you take the, so the second and, or say the third and fourth line of pixels from a and then mix it with the one from a Q, and you might be able to, come up with some pretty cool patterns that might simulate it. I've seen some Dragon games, like there's a version of Tetris that actually makes a Russian character set by doing this type of thing, where it mixes a couple of different letters together to make it look like a fake Russian R or something. So that's the part that you probably just have to kind of like go through and experiment a bit to really grok it properly. But once you get used to it and the fact that you're limited to these 8 by 12 cells that have to fall in the 8 by 12 pixel boundary, so every 12 pixels vertically, the next character starts, and you start at the top of the character again. Now, you notice on the graphic stuff, like on the right-hand side here with the blue, that one you can control fully because you've got every single pixel filled with the same thing. So there's no change, nothing to change. If I pick, the second one and I pick it the same blue, it's going to look the same. So those you can actually switch colors willy-nilly vertically. So I like in the case here, I've got 6, chunks of blue on the left-hand side, 4 pixels wide technically. You can actually change that from like blue, red, yellow, green, orange, buff in order, and it'll actually swap them through fine. So mixing text characters will only work on a CoCo 1-2 Dragon or a Gimme X CoCo 3. You'll just get a green block if you're trying to do it on a regular Gimme. Remember the 12, if you're going to be doing this on the VDG text characters, like on a Dragon or a CoCo 1-2, just remember every 12 pixels vertically, you're starting the next character cell. So 0, 12, 24, 36, etc. please know that graphic blocks always use the full cell height range, regardless of using left, right, or both pixels in a byte. So you can put these vertically wherever you want. That's a different way of explaining what I tried explaining earlier. I'm imagining there might be some questions based on this because it is a little bit hard to understand. And then if you want to go to the SG24, well, now you've got even further finer resolution. Now you can change which character you're printing or which graphics block you're printing every single line on the screen for 192 lines. So now you can really mix the characters together. This is exactly what Protectors 2 does because it is an SG24 game.
And but
You
also on the
Yep.
on the text, you can only therefore use the pixels of the character. Like the first 3 lines and the last 2 are always going to be green if you're using the text.
Yeah, except on the T1, then it shifts up because you got descenders.
Well,
so
yeah,
there's
it
some,
shifts up. It's the other way, yeah.
And I'm trying to remember, do things like exclamation marks go above that, or do they still leave the same amount of space?
I don't know. I didn't think so, but
I can't
yeah.
remember. Also, if you have a custom character set ROM like some of the lower kits had, obviously
they would, yeah.
Your mileage would vary as far as to what the top rows would be, but you're still limited to the 8x12. That's just hard coded into the VDG itself. It's always going to be an 8x12 character cell. The nice thing about SG24 is that literally every scan line, every single line vertically on the screen, you can switch between. In fact, if you want to put a B with a blue bar across the top and across the bottom, like an underline or something, you can change the first one to be a graphic block blue, leave the next 2 as green, and then the next 7 or 8 after that to draw the B, and then draw another blue on the bottom. So you can actually mix graphics into these text characters too. And then a bit of a zoom up here on Protectors 2 to might explain it a little bit better here. So the men being rescued, and these were actually animated in the original game. They actually waved their hands, but these, if you picked up one of these guys, they would jump up an entire character cell because you have to. You can't reline them up. They have to go every 12 pixels when you move up and down. Now, your spaceship, which is pure graphics blocks, it didn't. That can move a single pixel at a time. In fact, if you go play the game, you'll see your ship will move up smoothly, and then every 12 pixels it moves, the man you're carrying will jump up an entire 12 pixels at a time. And that's why, because you can't shift the cells of a text character. But you can see here, like they've mixed like the bottom part of an A over here. I think that was the top part of an A. I can't remember the really wide, might be a part of an O or something, or plus sign.
I know, yeah, maybe the O, which is very squarish.
Yeah, but if you look at this, if you look at Olstoy, I think that's the guy's name who wrote the one Tetris for the Dragon. There's a few other games that actually do these mixed text character things, and you can come up with entire new character sets or make it look sort of foreign language-ish, kind of custom create fonts. You can mix text and graphics together that way too. I know some text editors used to use semigraphics 12 to the bottom green that's usually empty and never used. They would put their cursor there. So you can have a little color bar for your cursor, move across to see where your cursor was without erasing the character. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. But once again, be warned, that does not work on a gimme on a CoCo 3. So any effects you do like this will be limited to CoCo 1, 2, CP400s, etc., and Dragon 3264s. Okay, and the end of my text presentation here. Using VDG text characters with the base code, not CoCo 3 compatible. So we've created an array, just like we did with the colors, like the CF, CL, and CR, the color masks. We've actually created an array DG0 through DG9. And these contain the POC 178 values for each of the VDG numeric characters 0 through 9. So this will let you do scores, men, left, that kind of thing. Now, you can use line with a BF option for the width of 1 byte. So it's a 0 through 7. If you wanted to put the upper left corner, we put 0 through 7, and then 0 through 11 would be your vertical on an SG24 screen. And if you do that line, it'll actually draw, basically it's drawing the same byte in all 12 lines, but because of the way it's subdividing the scan lines, it's literally drawing each row of pixels on that character in one shot. Now, if you just do a straight BF like this, then it'll be the same color code, whatever you poked in 178 with the DG array, and say I picked a number 5. So it draw the 5 vertically going down. If you want to get fancy, you can actually go in and tell it to line just 0 through 7 in chunks in the middle, and you can insert little graphic chunks and then use get puts to do this instead of line BF. And then you can actually draw these little mixed things with mixed text and graphics together in the same shape. Once again, you have to follow the 12 vertical for that to work properly. Since numbers don't use the top 3 or bottom 2 pixels, as Nick pointed out on the previous slide, you can actually literally shrink the height of each cell. You don't have to draw the top three. You have to do these on the same 12 pixel vertical boundaries, but you don't have to draw all the pixels. So for example, if you want to print your numbers a little bit faster and take a little bit, less obvious on the screen, you can skip the top three, skip the bottom two, and just draw the 8 in the middle of it to actually have the character. Now, once again, be forewarned, if the person's running this on a T1 VDG, everything got shifted, so you'll lose one of them. So I would usually do at least one on the top and the bottom extra. And if they have custom ones like, lower kits used to have, some of these used to use the full 12 byte high. So it's probably safest to put the whole thing in, but not too many people have those third-party ones. So if you want to make your drawing of those types of things a little bit faster, you can do a slightly shorter one. Just make sure you start a couple pixels down within the 12 and then cut it off. Get put buffers, of course, will be faster than this technique of using line BF, but will take more RAM. Some other Poke 170 values will allow you to print other characters from the VDG character set as well. Experiment to figure out what the ones you can. They will not match the regular VDG Poke values on the screen, and it won't match the ASCII values either. So there's a little demo program, I think it's called something test on the disk image, that it will actually cycle through all 256 combinations. And you can also jump around. There's some instructions on how to do that. You can actually go through and see if you can find the right text characters. I don't remember if everything is possible because of the way Extended Basic is trying to match how the way it's foreground color masking works. I don't know if it's possible to get everything to show up. I do know I've seen quite a few of the letters in there. Obviously, we've got all the color stuff in there. We've got the digits 0 through 9. If you do find them all, if you want to make a chart for everybody else to share, that'd be awesome. But there might be some missing. You might have to do some inverse, some regular. I can't remember. I didn't go through all of that, but just be aware that if you're looking for a pattern of ASCII or straight poke values to the screen like you're used to on a standard 32 by 16 screen, no, not going to work. So anyway, that's the end of that part of the presentation. So I am going to run a couple little graphic demos that are included on the disk. I'm going to use VCC because it kind of accidentally does CoCo 1, 2, 3, and Gimme and VDG, which it's not supposed to, but hey. Let me bring it up here. And yeah, got to drive 3 and share. Okay, you guys should be seeing a screen.
Yep.
Okay, so I won't go through SG24 subs or SG12 subs here. That's the stuff to merge in, and there's documentation that I sent with Mark to explain how to use those. The SG24 test, if you want to go through every character, you can. That's also got some instructions included. I'm not going to go through that today either. I'm going to go through the other 2 demos, which is basically the same demo, just rescaled for SG12 and SG24. So I'll run the SG12 first. Nope. Let's get the right character set first. Or color set, I should say. And yeah, I'm currently on mouse controls. So I've got this set up to go. You can move vertically 1 pixel at a time if you move the joystick slightly, or 2 pixels at a time. So it's got a bit of variable speed control. And same with the left and right. I can go 1 byte or 2 bytes full throttle and move around. And you can fire. You won't hear the sound. I can just got a little clicking beep. And now I'm demonstrating on the lower left. You can see that every so many shots I take, it's going to bump up my quote unquote score counter. And that's just using a line BF basically. And you can see it's going up. So this isn't too bad, but this is still 0.895 megahertz. Now, VCC unfortunately does not simulate the CoCo 1, 2 speed up poke. So I'm going to jump straight into the CoCo 3 one. So this is going to be running full throttle CoCo 3. The CoCo 2 speed up poke is between the 2 speeds here, obviously, but it's closer to the fast version than it is to the slow version. So it's actually a pretty good speed increase. Actually, I think, Nick, you have that built in yours, so you might be able to demonstrate the difference speed-wise. So you can see this is a fair bit better, and this is actually fairly smooth. You can make a decent game out of this. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse cursor there or not.
So
That's me simulating.
yeah, without all these techniques, to do this in basic, it wouldn't be as fast Or,
Oh yeah,
or
if you had to
clean.
manually poke this, it would be really, really slow.
Oh no, it would flicker. It would not be as clean as this.
No, why is VCC suddenly slowing down here? Ah, I reset it.
No, I think it's a bandwidth thing. Your voice was breaking up too.
Yep. I think it's at Curtis's end. We lose you, Curtis.
You're really breaking up.
Curtis, is it time to reboot your router?
I think he is, by the looks of it.
Yep, maybe.
Have you got any commercial breaks to put in?
Yeah, I do.
Throw in a commercial until he gets back.
Oh, you know what? I didn't. I mean, I set up a different scenario for this, and I didn't include anything.
Oh,
Let's see if I
okay.
can chase one down here.
Back now, yeah.
Yep.
Or just restart.
Yeah, so that fixed it.
Okay, let's see if I can get
Or
this
did it?
shared again. Can you hear me?
Yep, yep.
You sound good now. Yep.
VCC Steel's running slow. Let me just restart VCC too.
So it's an older version of VCC. You're running under Wine.
Yeah, yeah, it is. If this part doesn't work, I mean, you kind of seen it already, but see if I can show you what the SG24 looks like in the 2 speeds. I don't think I'm running else. Yeah, nothing else in the background. Actually, I can kill one thing. Here. Okay.
We have a comment from David Ladd. Says Curtis and Nick, thank you for sharing this information.
I want to see a game out of you, David.
Is of course.
Really?
So this is the higher resolution one.
There you go.
This is in regular speed. So this is what you expect of a CoCo 1 or 2 with no speed up poke at all, which still isn't horrible.
And it doesn't flicker or anything too. That's the important thing too.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty smooth looking.
And then if I
No
quit out,
flicker.
I'll use the full double speed. Like I said, you'll get about this 50, 60% faster than what I just showed you on a CoCo 1, 2 with the regular speed up poke. That just speeds up the ROMs. The nice thing is because we're hijacking basic and not modifying it, those are ROM routines, so they all get sped up
All
for
sped
get
up,
put. So
even on CoCo 1 and 2 and Dragon.
oh, RIM, that's a new command. Never heard of that one.
The new one, yeah. And now for the real new command.
Now the laser shot, I could do a little bit faster. I actually have a little sound. I have a little play command doing it, so it's actually making these noises every time I fire. If you want more smooth graphics and not worry about sound, you can just take that out and it'll run a lot smoother. And here you can see VCC is not working properly because it's actually doing the VDG text symbols here. It shouldn't be. It should be just a green square.
You've got the old version of VCC though.
Yeah.
I think the newer
2.10.
versions do. Yeah.
So anyway, just to show you, I'm going to do a width 80. I'm going to make the palette a little bit more palatable. RRR. And that's the entire thing. The entire subroutine library is in there, as well as my little game demo, plus drawing the ship, which I did through line commands for the most part. As you can see here, line 39, 2 ships for animation first. And then here you can see me using the example of doing a full 2 pixel wide, the full byte, color 5, which is white. And I poke 178 with that, so I'm making the color mask for white, and then I'm drawing my lines and using those even byte boundary start and ends from the table, and using BF because I'm drawing some that are more than a single pixel high. And you just go through and draw stuff like that, and you can draw vertical, you can draw horizontal lines, you can draw full box fills, and the draw command itself, as long as you follow the same criteria, you can do them in there as well if you want to. And then it's just basically get puts, which is a little bit later. They're using the P copy to clear the screen a little bit faster too. And IFS is there's 2 get put buffers to animate the ship. So the flames you notice were moving, and also the pilot's little window was flashing 2 different colors. So one get put buffer is the first one, the first position of the flames with the color, I think, cyan for the ship's windshield. And the second one has the flames moved in the colors magenta with the ship's shield. So I'm just alternating between 2 get put buffers basically to do that entire animation. And then I'm reading joysticks and moving stuff and changing coordinates and checking to make sure you're not going to run off the side of the screen, etc. And then 150, I think, is checking for the button. Then I do my fake little score thing. That's this chunk here. And that's the whole game. Like, it's not really a game, but
See, look at line 150, 160, sorry. And you've got this in a few other areas. If BT and you might want to explain to people what that is actually doing.
Yeah, that's like most people that program in BASIC are familiar with and. If you're, concatenating commands, say like if A equals 0 and B equals 0, then whatever. This is more using it in the logical function as a bit operator. So basically, this is just saying is the least significant bit set or not.
Right.
So it's checking to see if the peak that you do to read joystick buttons is if you and that value, whatever it read from it, if you and that value with 1, so you're checking the least significant bit, then you either fired or you haven't fired. And the reason we do that is because there's a couple values that can float through there. So you can either do the other type of band, check to see specifically, is it 126 or 254, that kind of thing. But this actually is shorter and faster and basically does the same thing. In fact, you can even check for 2-button joysticks this way if you really want to go nuts, but you can probably just use the button command for that too. But yeah, I mean, I've left some of the REMs in here, which are also built into the subroutine module packages. So I've got, like, I'm doing line 10, P clear 4, dim CF8, CL8, CR8, DG9, and it mentions the REM above. This is the arrays for the colors, full left and right pixel, and the VDG digits, which is the DG array. So that's explaining exactly what it does. If you're running on a room in your program, you don't need remarks there either. That's just for your reference as you're learning. If you need to rip them out and save the room for, fancy effects in your program, please do. I know Nick's probably ripped them all out already, so.
I will be. Yeah.
I have a question from Erico, when you got a moment. Also a comment. Erica says a moon patrol would be cool with these modes. And then he asks how much memory that SG24 example takes after running it.
6K.
6K?
Yeah, the screen itself takes 6K. And I've got a few get put buffers, but I'm still got 19 GAF-K free on this particular program.
So I was going to tell you, Curtis, that when I posted this last Saturday about this particular live stream on the TRS-80 color computer group, Carlos Camacho said, I want to see more semi-graphics games. And I responded today, I said, that's why this kind of technical information is being presented.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, Nick will be demonstrating a game that he's working on, not quite ready to get released yet, but you will see a fairly good chunk of what he's managed to do in the last, 3-4 weeks?
Yeah, some of that. Tic-tac-toe in semi-graphics.
Fred Hicks also said Defender ? And David Mitchell said it's the first BSG game I've always wanted. It's the BSG
it kind of
game
does revive from the original Battlestar Galactica, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess it does.
Ah, shoot.
Your
I
microphone.
think I'm gonna have to replace this USB cable here.
Ah, that's what the problem is.
Because I've got it raised up. I actually, specifically so I wouldn't keep kicking on my foot, I actually have it raised on my desk there, but I just literally bumped it with my hand and it disconnected. Yet it's still plugged in, so I think the connectors are getting a bit warm. But yeah, it doesn't take too much. I mean, the amount of the screen takes itself is exactly the same as the P mode equivalent. So if you're doing a semigraphics 24, it takes the same amount of RAM as a P mode 3 or P mode 4. And if you're doing semigraphics 12, it takes the
yeah.
same out as a P mode 1.
But you get extra benefits.
Yeah, the biggest being 9 colors at once. That's the huge benefit. Because one thing Nick's always complained about, the few color sets we have for P mode 3, if you don't have artifact colors, kind of suck, except for certain specific games.
That's right.
This will give you the access to everything. It gives you a black border.
Ooh, yeah.
It gives
That's
you
right.
black and white and colors on the same screen at the same time. I mean, we can do that with artifacting, but you're limited to red and blue.
Well, still only generally 4, yeah. But this brings back the color back into the color computer, as I always say.
So at any rate, Nick's going to further presentation to show you what a real programmer, a real game programmer can do with this and actually do an actual game. And he's going to be using SG12. What's that?
I knew I had something to do. I forgot. No, I do have it.
Plus, he's got a few tricks for doing loading screens and loading backup buffers that he'll get into more detail.
We'll go in. Yeah. Well, we'll see how we go. Do you want to have a break so people can relieve themselves in between?
It's been an hour and a half. Sure. I don't have.
Do you want to throw a commercial? Well, Curtis gets a glass of water or a coffee or whatever.
Yeah, I should have set up to one of the commercial breaks, but I created a new layout for this, so
that's all right. We can roll straight in.
Okay.
Well, okay. Now, when Curtis told me about these new techniques in using the get and put buffers to within BASIC, I got excited because I thought I've always looked at the get and put commands to be sort of like a blitter. You can basically copy a square or rectangular area of data from one place to another, or in the case of get and put, you can store a block of data in an array and then put it as many times as you want. And I thought that that's a good feature to have in BASIC, if only it was fast enough, because I never knew about the trick that if you omit the G command, it actually writes the data as bytes. It's much faster, and you do all your get and puts on that even boundary, and that opened the door up to being able to do games which, even in BASIC, arcade games, which could be reasonable. I mean, it's still going to be BASIC. It's still interpreted BASIC. So I thought once he explained
floating point numbers
to
too.
Me, yeah. So once Curtis explained that to me, I thought I'd do a little demo game, just to see if it can be done at a reasonable rate. So I decided, and I'll just share my VCC. And
don't forget to share with sound.
Yep, I did.
Yep.
Now,
there we go.
That's the title screen. Now, this game, I set the limitations to myself that it has to be written completely in extended color BASIC. No machine code or no additional machine code. No cheating, just whatever came built in to the CoCo way back in 1980, although most of my work's done on a CoCo 3, so I can utilize the extra CPU speed. But the game does work on a CoCo 1 and 2, but slower. And the game I decided to pick to try convert to or do a version in BASIC is the game that was available or created on the Atari 2600 way back by that John Van Ryzen, whatever his name was. There I had it on the other page, and it's called Hero. It's a very popular game cartridge, and it's been converted to everything: Commodore 64s, Ataris, Amstrads, even Amiga lately, but never on the CoCo. So I thought, well, it'd be good to do an all machine code version of Hero for the CoCo. But then I thought, well, this might be a good one to use to demonstrate what can be done in BASIC using these techniques that Curtis has brought up. So what I'll do is I'll just show you the game first, just so you can see that, you know, is this really a pile of BS or what? And then you can decide to listen to the rest of my talk and see what I've actually done. So I'll start the game. It's called Hero, of course, and Hero, the original game of Hero, was a helicopter emergency rescue operation, and the character flew around a little propeller hat type, with a helicopter on its head, and hence it was called Helicopter Emergency Rescue Operation. Well, doing a helicopter in semi-graphics the blades looked a bit low res, because semi-graphics is still, this is going to be done in
Horizontally, it is low res.
semi-graphics 12. Yeah. So I thought, it'll probably look ugly. Then I thought, I'll make it a jetpack. So I changed it, and I had to find something that still started with the letter H. So I called it Hoverjet Emergency Rescue Operation. And it's a game where you control a rescue guy who goes down into the mines, avoiding creatures like spiders, snakes. There's going to be moving walls and various obstacles, going through the maze underground to reach and rescue a miner underground. And there's in that game there was 20 levels, and the levels varied. Like the very first level's only 2 screens high, until you get to the later levels, and then they can be 20, 25 screens deep, for example. So I've got 5 of the levels in there at the moment. I will be doing all 20, and I've based them on the original game. So I'll get straight into it, and I'll make sure it starts. First thing I've got to do is make sure my cursor is on the VCC, and I'll press start. Now I'll explain what the program is doing in a sec, but there's the game. And that's my character. And you can see a little jetpack behind him, and he can walk. This is all using the get inputs. Now this is running in VCC, so it's running as if it's running on a CoCo 3. Oh, there's one bug. I don't have bugs. Where did this come from? Anyway, so you go up to these. That's right. That is one bug I've never been able to track down, and there it is. It says, embarrassment time on. So you can drop a bomb and then move out of the way, and the bomb will, it probably won't work right now because of the way that bug's come in. Maybe if I go right up to the wall though. Let's try it one more time. Yeah, well, it demolished part of it. So you got to blast your way through rocks, but you can't be in the bomb zone. If you did that, look, if I drop a bomb and don't move away, I will die, and so I die with it. And then you go to the next level. These numbers that are popping up are showing you the level and the room number. That was something I added in. So you walk along, you can take off like here and go up, and the little jetpack comes on, and you can fly around and land elsewhere, or it can jump over a gap like that, or you can fly down and go into the next part of the cave, which is there. And here is a level where, okay, you can just spider, and you touch that, you die, or you can shoot it. You have a eye-mounted laser device, whatever it's called, so you can shoot a laser. Now, you have energy down the bottom, that yellow bar down the bottom. that energy is used for your jetpack and for your laser. So when you run out of energy, you die and you lose a life. So you do have to conserve your energy as you go down. You can also use it to blow up walls, actually. That laser can destroy a wall, but it takes a fair amount of time. You have to go up to a wall and hit it a large number of times using energy, but you do that because if you use up all your bombs, of which you have 6 bombs per level, if you use them all up and you've got no bombs left to get past the wall, you can use your laser to essentially drill through the wall. So that'll get you through past the wall, but of course it uses a lot of energy. Look, I'll hold it down. You can see the energy bar dropping. So you don't really want to do that. That's an emergency step.
And
The
flying
yellow
takes some of
thing,
that energy too, right?
yeah, flying does. Well, walking doesn't because your jetpack is off. See, it's switched off. As soon as you take off, and I'll just move over here a bit, the little yellow, like a flame on the back, that's showing you the jetpack is on. You can't just hover. You can take off, but if you let go of the up button, it drops down again. But if you fly horizontally, it will keep flying horizontally until you let go of the button. There's no down. You just stop hovering and it falls down and back to the ground. That yellow thing right above me is a light. So now every screen, the lights are on, but some screens have a separate light. And when they're on, like this one is, well, everything is normal, lit up. But if I run into it, if I touch it like that, the lights turn off. And you can still move around, but now you can't see where you're going because I've hit the lights. Now, if I go up again, I can go into the previous screen that I was, and the lights were on there. There's no lights here for me to bump into, so you can't turn the lights off here. But if you go into a room where the lights have been turned off, well, unfortunately, they stay off. So you've got to walk around blindly, or to find your path. Now, there's 2 things you can do here, and that is you can try mumble your way through it and find. I know there was a down somewhere just here. There it is. He goes down, but I won't go down. Oh, I missed it. I missed the button. I'll just go back up and show you the other. So this is basic redrawing screens. So I'll go up and I'll just move back onto the floor. What you can also do is drop a bomb. So I'll go here and just drop a bomb, move away, and it flashes, the explosion flashes all the corridors that you can walk in. So you can quickly have a bit of a glance to see where are the exits to this room. So that would highlight where the exits are. You've only got a second or so to see it, but the explosion, the glow from the explosion, just lights up the corridors so that you can just quickly find out where to go, and then you just head towards the
And you want to do that
exit.
sparingly if you have to do it that way because you're using a bomb
Well,
each time you do it, and
you've
then you got
only
to
got
worry about
you've
bombing
only got
walls too.
that's right. You've only got 6 bombs per level. Every time you complete a level, you get another 6. But yeah, you've only got 6 per level. So yeah, you use up your bombs unnecessarily. You might get to a point where there's a boulder in the way. I can't get past it, and I've got no bombs to blow it up. So that's where you got to use your laser to drill through the wall, and that's
And then you
using up
lose
your
energy, and if you lose your energy
Yeah,
too, then you
so
die.
you got to. That's right. So preferably don't waste the bombs. Now I'll fly down. There are other creatures in there, and I'll just see if I can catch this before I go too far down. Okay, I'll just try. Oh, I think I hit up too many times. It's going to go back down again. There's things like snakes in the wall, and I'll just get out of the way. Oh, he's going to bite me here. If I can get out of the way in time, I did. So they can bite you, you die. And there will be a bat as well. I haven't got the bat in there yet. Now there's a wall. The walls that you can blow up are going to be marked like this with the dots. You can't blow up the other walls, only these ones that are dotted or whatever you call it. They blow up. So you drop a bomb and you move out of the way. There's that bug again. Twice in one demo. And I never get it to pop up. Gee, I hate that. Don't you hate programming? Okay.
Yeah. Why do we do this, Nick? Why do we do this to ourselves?
I know. It's here to torment me. So yeah, you can walk over here. I could go up, hit the light, and keep going up to get into the next room. But the idea is to just work out which way is the safest way down. You can go to the next level. There's another light. I preferably should not hit the light. So I keep the lights on. I can kill the spider. And I can blow up the wall if I want to go that way. Now, I don't know if that's the correct way to go. I think it's blocked off by a spider. So I'm going to, because I wrote it, but I know that this is the way to go. Oh, no, it's just a wall. And I hit the light. Damn it. And there's a spider. Ah, damn it. See? I'll quickly get out of that room and go back up. Because if you touch the spider, and I can't shoot the spider when it's directly under me. So I do have to go the other way.
Yeah, you can only shoot from your eyes, so you can't do anything.
Yeah,
you can't hit it at a level.
So I'll go down this way instead. So there's a bit of an exploration element. Of course, the lights are going to be out in this room because I stupidly hit the light on the way out. And of course, I can't remember where the path down was. So I know there was a wall over here. So I'm going to blow a bomb up here. And at the same time, it'll illuminate everything. So I know there's a big gap over there. And now I could actually fly across and hit this dastardly spider to get points and keep flying down. And there's the miner. Oh, and there's a snake in the wall there. So you've got to be careful. I'll wait for it to bite and then I'll jump. And quickly go over and rescue him. And that's it. That's that level done. And so on and so on. There's 20 levels to go through. And whenever you restart then into another level, you get your energy replenished, you get your bombs replenished, but you still only have the number of lives that you had before. Now, that's the game at this point. There's still a few things to add in. A few more animals have to appear in the game. Moving walls are not quite moving yet. Other than that, it's almost finished. And this will become a freebie for anyone to just download for free. It's been mainly designed to be a demonstration of what can be done solely in BASIC, no machine code, or no extra machine code from BASIC. Now, it's still fast enough. I mean, obviously, you can't do any super fast arcade type games in BASIC because BASIC is still slow.
Basic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still interpreted, and it's still in CoCo's
interpreted.
case, all floating point real numbers to deal with.
Floating point. Yeah, so you still work within the limitations of BASIC, but this shows that with these techniques of using the get and put, and I do use the line command in area, like the laser is the line command. You can still do things as long as you pick your game. Don't expect a high speed version of Defender, although Although, looking at Curtis's demo, it may be possible. Who knows? There's something for someone to try.
Yep.
It might be
Won't be me.
fast
So-
enough to do some
So-
version of Defender.
Rocky Hill asked if you could fly and shoot. Did you demo that?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I'll let's blast this wall. Look at that, 3 times. Isn't that
Yeah.
great? I never have it work, and it does it 3 times during a demonstration. You can actually blow the wall, but it takes a long time. The idea of that is that, well, you're sacrificing energy to get through a wall that you may have wasted all your bombs, see, and it will destroy it. And you can take off and fire it as well. And so you can kill things.
Erico also wanted to know radioactive walls.
Yes, they are in there. Actually, they'll be in this level. There it is. I might hit the light. Damn it. I know, I got it. Now, the purple walls, they're the, well, you can call them radioactive. I think the game calls them lava walls, like underground hot lava. Because, well, either way, if you touch it, like I will do right here, you die. So you don't touch the pink or the magenta walls. And likewise, you will see the magenta walls that you can blow up. But with those ones, you've got to make sure that you go up to the wall. This one won't blow up, but you've got to go up to a purple wall like that, and you can drop a bomb and then blow it up. But don't walk into it. The other thing also is if you turn the lights off, like I'll knock them out, the lights go out, the radioactive or lava walls do
Are still
stay
visible.
on. Because otherwise, if they went invisible, yeah, you're running blind in here. So how do you know when you're going to walk straight into a lava wall? So they do still light up. And you can then just this one had a horizontal exit, so I go out on the left side, kill the spider while I'm at it. Oops, I missed it. There you go, cop that. And I'll just fly straight down.
Save fuel and walk.
Yeah,
Aaron
well,
was
that is,
asking if the boat will be there too.
I haven't got the boat in there. I was actually going to cheat and not put it in. I thought, well, you know, I really want
Now
to
you've
get
been
back to
called
this
out.
other. That's right. There's another game I've been working on, which I stopped to start this one. And originally, this was only going to be a short demo, just to show what can be done. But you know, I've got a problem. When I start something, it's got to be a complete game. Just to me, it just never seems finished. So I thought I'll just keep going. I'll put in as much as I can in the game until it drives me up the wall, and then I'll, you know, finish it off and get back to my real job. Now, I'll go down a bit more. But yeah,
So-
if
You're okay with cutting corners, like leaving out the boat until you got called
well,
on it.
well, that's the thing. Now he's bugging me now, so I've got to do the boat as well. It doesn't appear in a lot of places. There's a place where there's it's not so much a boat. It's a little log that floats on the lava. There's lava that floats down the bottom, and I could do that. I had the graphics all in there for there. I was just starting to get lazy. Anyway, I won't keep playing this. We'll talk a bit more about the actual what the coding does. There's a lava wall that I can destroy.
2 of them.
No,
Well,
just the one with dots and
can't-
it can be destroyed.
only the ones that dots. The other ones are solid. They're like, yeah. That's why I don't want to call them radioactive. I call them lava. The purple ones are dried up. They're solid. These ones are semi-solid. So you can blow this one up to get past. And while we're here, kill this guy and keep going down. So yeah, that you saw that. Whoops, I dropped the bomb. Was I far enough away? Yes. Oh damn, another light. Hang on, did I miss it? Yes.
You were in the center, so you probably would have cleared it.
Yeah, that's right. It I noticed even in the original game, the lights are always on the right-hand side of the wall. So I've just done the same thing. Since the original game was done on the 7800, when you actually do try to make a version of the game, you know, this version, I can see areas where the programmer has taken shortcuts in the way things are positioned and what things have been. You can see a lot of the design decisions that he's done in order to make it possible on an Atari 2600, which doesn't even have a video display. Okay, well, this is the last level.
Erico says that the levels are perfectly
There we are.
transferred. Really cool.
Oh, pretty close. Yeah, that's why I say I was planning on doing the boat, but I was just getting lazy because I really want to get back to this other game that I started before I forget what I'd done. But anyway, I'll see. Maybe
Too late.
he might have convinced me. Yeah, too late. Out of data because I've only got 5 levels in there at the moment, and so the data is not in there for the rest. But yeah, I thought I'd get the game running and then I can do all the enter the rest of the data. Now, a
Another
few
question for
ideas
you.
on. Yep, far away.
Rocky Hill says, are there multiple checkpoints in a level?
No, it wasn't in the original one either.
Okay.
You
got to make it all the way through.
You got to make it all the way through. Well, each level, there's an end to every level where you have to rescue the miner. But yeah, if you die on level 5, you can't go. Well, it does remember if you do a level and you kill certain animals and turn off certain lights and blow up certain walls, they are remembered. So when you die, you respawn your next life in that same screen. You don't go all the way to the start. So in that sense, yeah, you don't have to do the whole level again.
Okay.
So if that makes sense, if I run
You,
this
you
again,
restart the level, but the things you've already accomplished are already.
you're still in that level. Yeah, that's right. So,
Hmm.
I mean, this is just a demo. This is actually level 5. It says level 1, room 1. That's what the 2 numbers mean. But just for the demo, I thought I'll just bump it up to level 5 because there's more animals and walls and stuff. But
Mhm.
in any of the screens, if I was to die, like here, I'll walk into the, or I'll blow up, I'll blow myself up. So I die, but it puts me back at this same screen. So even if I was 6 screens down and I died there, I would reappear on that same screen 6 levels down, 6 rooms down.
And any monsters
So
you killed or walls you've blown up are
yeah,
still blown up or killed then.
anything I blew up before that or killed or turned off, they do stay dead. Once you're dead, you're dead. Unless you start the game again, of course. So it does remember all that. Tried my best to do a guy with his legs walking. It's a little bit funny walking, but then I thought, oh, that's all right. We'll just say it's
The
Rolf
motion is good.
Harris walk. Yeah, it's Rolf Harris with his third leg. Um, as for techniques, what I'll do is, well, one thing I do when we were saying about doing get and put, to draw the graphics, I'm just trying to type at the same time here, SG editor. Now, I wrote a little basic program as to use for editing the graphics, and it does 8, 12, and SG 8, 12, and 24, and it's a very basic program. Now, that's a screen that was in memory when I was playing. You've got a cursor, you can go around and set pixels, like I think it's on green there. So you can set pixels and draw. But what I want to show is what you don't see when you run the program. And where is it? Graphics, yep. Is this. This page is loaded into the graphics screen, the same screen where the game is played. It loads that right after you hit start at the title page. If you remember, the screen went black for a while before it actually, showed the game. At that point is when it loads the graphics off the disk. So I don't actually draw it during the game. I've already drawn the graphics and I've saved it. I've saved the graphics page. So when you run the game, it always loads all this graphics back into the graphics page. And then the first thing I do is I p-copy the area in the bottom, the blue part, onto the second graphics page, because my game uses 2 screens. I'll explain in a minute why it uses 2. So I copy the blue area so that it's got that area on both pages, and then it runs all the get commands, which get the little graphic blocks that I've created on the screen. So the top ones are used for the walls and for the actual cave. You can see the man graphics with all the frames of how he's walking or flying, the miner, a couple of the animals, creatures there. You can see the bat, which doesn't show up as well. And you can see the font. So all the numbers, because like Curtis was saying, on a CoCo 3, in semi-graphics mode, you can't get the original BDG graphics or
Text
or
characters.
characters. So you have to create your own. So that's where they are loaded. All the graphics are loaded there, and then I get them. So for the numbers 0 to 9, for example, I've got 10 get commands, which get array G0, G1, G2, 3, up to 9. So when you want to display a score, you've got to put the appropriate numbers, actually put them in the place they appear. Now, as you saw in the game, I don't know if anyone was looking at the score, but the score was changing quite quickly. It wasn't really slowing the game much, and the score's not changing all the time either, but it's still fast enough to display a score. Once it's loaded all the graphics, I'll just break out of that. It then runs the rest of the game, and you'll see.
David
when it
Lord
comes
asks, is
up.
basic fast enough for chunky particle explosions?
That
I think if you use get put buffers where you draw a frame by frame of a particle explosion and put them all on top of each other.
It depends on how
yes.
big the particle. When you say particle, if you're talking about a big explosion like in Defender, I don't
that'd be
know if
pushing
you'd
it.
want to use. That'd be pushing it. That'd be a big get put. But if it's a little explosion effect around, say, your character, you want it to disintegrate, you could put.
It'd be like the flames of the rocket ship in my demo, where I'm actually just animating between 2 different frames, but you could add more to make a more detailed. Yeah.
So if your
Just takes more RAM.
If your explosion is going to take up 5 frames of graphics, you would have to do all 5
frames.
Gets, 5 gets, and then 5 puts, of course. But if it's a particle that spans the entire screen, you'd probably be, basic. You'd have to use poke, I guess.
You could do line BFs or get puts of like single pixels and something and just move them across, but that'd be a lot of them, and it would be fairly slow.
There'd be a lot of them,
basic.
So it's sort of like I said earlier. It's still basic. It's not going to give you arcade speed.
It's not a miracle worker, Captain.
It's not quite, no. But
can't change the laws of physics.
It gives you a few extra features. You could do some things in basic, but you've got to pick your game. You know, you're not going to do a game where it's just too much for basic to handle. So going back to about loading the graphics, so I'll press spacebar. So at this point, it loads it in, does all it gets, and then it draws up the game screen, and up it comes. So it didn't take too long.
No, not at all. Erica had another comment too, or a question. What are the two lines, the purple and red, by the sides of the breakable walls? I think he was talking about in the graphics, your raw graphics.
Yeah, your loader screen. There's you got your 8 color bars and your partial red. There's 2 little underlined ones that are.
Yes, I know what he means. Do you want me to load that up again?
Sure. It'd be easier to explain. We can see it.
It might be easier to explain. Yeah. So now I'll just run the.
Rocky Hill says, "Yeah, Basic has given her all she's got."
It is basically.
I also mentioned for people who want to draw graphics for an SG24 game, Nick has his little editor that he'll be including with his game when it's released, or you can draw the manual with draw online command stuff. But there's also Robert Galt has written an SG24 graphics editor has stuff like real draw circles and paint and stuff. And you can draw stuff on his if you're writing an SG24 game, save that out, then you can load that in exactly like Nick's about to do here and do your gets off that. So you can actually use, diagonal line draws and all kinds of stuff. Do you remember what the name of that program is? Because I know it's on the archive, but I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
SG, I know it started with was it SG24 Edit? I can't remember, something like that.
If you don't remember, I'll look up while you're talking about your 2 underlines there.
Yeah, those 2 underlines. Now, when you turn the lights off, obviously I go through and I clear out anything that was lit up, like the colors of the walls. But I don't just color it to 0, like blank them out completely, because then it makes it very hard for your basic program to know where are the walls, where is the floor. If everything all of a sudden becomes a 0 or a black, it can't determine where there is actually a wall. The computer it can't see in the dark totally, so it doesn't know when you hit a wall, if you're stepping on something or what. But in basic, you've got 8 colors. Every one of those colors is essentially 16 graphic blocks, all exactly the same, but in 8 colors. So 8 by 8 is 8, 64. There's your 64 graphic blocks, 8 colors, but that also includes a black. So you've got a green black, a red black, a blue black. Even though they all look black on the screen, they actually have a different value. A green black is a 128. What's the next one? The yellow. I think it's the yellow. The yellow black, or is it the blue? Is actually 148. Is that right? No, anyway, whatever it is. It's 16.
I think it's 144.
144. Yeah, that's 144, it. It's 143. 143 is a solid green.
Yeah.
So just like you've got every graphic character, you've got the same one repeated over and over, but of a different color, including the black, the nothing. So when I turn the lights off, I don't just turn everything off to black. I actually turn it off to the black version of whatever color was there before. So if you were standing on a floor which is orange, in front of a wall which is red, well, when it goes and turns the lights off, it still is red, but it's the black red. In other words, the red which has no pixels. So it looks black. And that's how the basic program can tell if you're still leaning against or standing on a solid wall or a solid floor, even though everything looks to you as being black, nothing there. That was the cheat's way of trying to get being able to make it walk in the dark and operate all in the dark. So does that make sense, Erica? If he's
He says, "Oh, you are
still
using other blacks, Ace." So I think he understands.
that's right, yeah. So it's
Yeah, because you have
still
8
all
different
there.
blacks. You have the green through orange and the black versions
That's
of
right.
those.
You've got 8 of them. So all you do is you take whatever is colored on the screen, but you change it to be the color version of black. That way the program still knows what type of wall or what type of ground you're on, that sort of thing. It still sees everything just as it did before. Only you, the player, can't.
Now you also
So
use that technique where you reserve 2 screens because you have one for when when you're flashing like a bomb goes off.
yes, I'll show you that. I'll just bring up the first level again. Now, the original game, of course, it flashed the corridors, and it had a pretty for a Atari 2600. It looked pretty good, the explosion, but it flashed the corridors, and the whole idea was that so that with a bomb you could light up a dark room just enough so you can sort of make out where the corridors are. On the CoCo On the CoCo 3, we could do something similar by just changing the palette. But I was trying to write this so that it could also work on a CoCo 1 and 2, which doesn't have palettes. So I had to work out a way to make all the corridors flash like that when the explosion goes off. So what I've done, if I set up 2 screens. So when it draws the screen, it draws a version of the screen with the lights out, like all the walls, the floor, everything is black, or rather the color black that as I explained just before. But the corridors, which are black, gets colored in another color, but being in this case it was red, but it was sorry, no, repeat, say that again. The black corridors would be drawn in red. And so I'll just explode a bomb here. You look when it flashes. Well, it's a bit quick, but the corridors, all the walls go black, but all the corridors go red. And that's drawn on that second screen first, and then it draws. That's right, and then it draws the main screen that you're going to be looking at, whether the lights are all lit like this, or whether the lights are all turned off. But it'll always have that second screen, so that if you turn the lights off, and I might just do that and walk into the other room and turn the lights off. Yeah, there it is. So I'll just walk into it, and it turns them off. So it turns off all the color walls and floor into that black equivalent of the color. But the corridors on that second screen, and I'll just get some space here, drop a bomb, they're going to be done in red. And that's what you see. Yep. So it was just a sneaky way of trying to do the flashing corridors without having and being able to just change a palette color. And that's what that effect does.
And you literally can do that with regular extended basic on regular P modes too. If you double buffer, like if you create a second screen and you
could, that's
do
right.
the same type of thing and then flip between them, same thing.
That's right. It depends on the game. I needed to be able to flash the lights during an explosion because that's part of the game strategy. That when the room is dark like this and you don't know where to go, well, you can sacrifice a bomb so you can quickly see, there's a downward corridor just over here, and there's no other. See, and you just go down that corridor and you're free. Except I'm going to walk straight into another light. There should be a bug here. That's where I'm up to. So I haven't got that one working yet, but that's all right.
Erica says the effect
Trust
of
me.
that red came out great.
Yeah, it works good too. So it had to be a fast flash, so it looked like an explosion. Of course, we've got a spider we can kill. Now, do you notice down the score down below? It changed pretty quickly. If I got another creature in the next room. Uh-oh. Well, okay. I just killed myself.
Go back. Go back.
I could, yeah, I can, yeah. I'll just go up because I should be able to go back into the other room. There we are. Now what was I going to show you here? Now I forgot. See?
Well, you kind of showed how fast the numbers draw, because even when you draw the level room number,
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I've
and like
blown this wall up already. Okay. I'll just hit break and just run again. It's all in basic.
yeah, there's some pokes, but it doesn't poke machine language subroutines. That's color values.
No, they were the things to stop basic from for turning on the semi-graphics, and to also stop basic from trying to reset it back out.
Yeah.
Now, what was I going to do with this damn wall? I keep getting diverted. It's going to show something here. Anyway, let's just blow it up and then look at the score. So it changed fairly quick. Went from 0 to 75, just like a normal text thing. So it's fast enough.
Yeah. Now the get put without the G option is a lot faster. The wider the shape is too, it's a lot faster, even on regular P mode, like several times faster. And on really big graphics, it can be like up to 10 times faster, if not more.
Yeah, yeah. But the whole point of this is to show that even with old basic, interpreted basic, it is possible to, you just got to pick your game. Now,
Erica has another question for you.
Okay, yep.
He says, how are you detecting the colors, like for collision detection? Peeking the screen?
Yep, I'll tell you in a sec. I'm just trying to change the clock rate to try simulate a Gimme X. But it's a bit fiddly on the buttons. Now I will explain. Except I'm having trouble changing this thing. Maybe I shouldn't
use
bother.
The arrow keys or something?
Actually, can I? No.
It needs to have focus.
That's one of the... Yeah, I know. It just doesn't. Now there's a thing that we need to suggest.
Well, you should be able to use the tab and go from the CPU tab down to the overclocking, then the memory size CPU and back again.
Can you see my CPU
Yeah, we see
screen?
the overlay window.
Yeah, I've got the CPU screen. I won't worry about it. It was just a show off. The collision detection. What I do in my game is I basically check for the XY. I compare the XY positions. I know everything has an X and a Y position on the screen. My player, the creatures, and I basically just do a comparison. First thing I do, like if I'm walking, I check to see if my character has not entered within the XY locations of the animals. And likewise with the laser, I know where the laser is because it's got a start X and an end X and a single Y, and I compare it to see if it goes within the same area that the animal occupies. So it's a very basic sort of thing. I don't use any peaks or that. So if there's a better way to do it, that would be an area to speed it up. But You know, I just got lazy.
Yeah, we should mention you haven't gone through to optimize the basic code yet as much as you could. You got obviously the fast
well-
get puts and stuff, but there's some other little tricks you can do to speed it up.
Well, the only thing I've done, I have turned off the brake key, so the brake key is off. I'll just get this back. The brake key is off, but and the way I break out of the program is I also do a direct scan of the brake key within the basic program. So basic is not looking at the brake key. I look at the brake key directly, and if the brake key is being held, then I re-enable basics brake key scanning
handler.
and I break out normally. That way the program goes back to normal. Because if you disable the brake key, you can't get out. But if I hit brake now, like if I'm in the right screen, look at that. This guy's full of BS. Now if I hit brake, it should turn off. I know something weird with my PC. I think I've clicked on one too many things. Yeah. No, I've seen this with VCC. Okay. It's something weird with VCC. Okay, I'll just exit VCC and reshare. Although that's pretty well it. I don't know if there's
I
anything
do
else
I do
need
have
to say.
XWord brought up so I can show people the difference on a CoCo 1.2 level machine or Dragon, the difference between the regular speed and the ROM speed up poke if you want me to show that.
All right, you can do that. I've just exited XRAW because XRAW decided to hack it in.
So this is the SG24 demo again. So
Right.
this is regular speed. XWord is more accurate on the cycle speeds here.
Right.
So that's, basically the standard moving around screen. So I will hit Q to quit. And I'll do the infamous poke 65495,
That's the
which
ROM
is-
speed up.
That's the ROM speed up. So even on a CoCo 1 and 2,
Now I do turn that on. The part of in my game, it looks to see if you are running on CoCo 3. If you are, it goes to the double speed. If you're not, it goes to this speed, this ROM speed up.
so that gives you an idea what the speed difference is. Basically, anybody writes basic programs for a CoCo 1.2 should use that poke because the only machines it didn't work on were very, very early, like D&E boards of the CoCo 1. It ran on all CoCo 2s fine. And it was a fairly minor change. I think in some cases you just needed slightly faster RAM chips. The other one you had to clip a capacitor or something like that, and then it would work on everything. So pretty well all machines
Yeah.
out there now support it. Some of British X's own
Yeah.
programs ran it that way. So
Right.
So Rocky Hill wants
Well,
to know when
this-
you get to put in the Starfield, Curtis.
well, that was I just did a graphics demo. I'm back onto a whole bunch of my other projects now. That's
I've
up to people
restarted
like
mine.
Rocky and people like Erico and stuff and David Ladd to write some stuff now. We've given you the tools. We've
That's
given you the
right.
subroutines you can call to actually do them. Nick is going to release a full game for it to kind of show you, some other techniques of how to, do stuff like double buffering. And we're hoping to see what you guys can do with that. I'm especially interested what some of the Dragon folks can do with it, to be honest, because they actually use
editor
this
too.
mode more than we did.
Your editor is written in BASIC, Nick.
Yeah, it was only a basic program.
Yeah,
So
Robert
it should
Galt
work.
is a machine language. I did post the link to it in earlier. If you want to copy that link, Mark, and maybe you can throw it in on your posts.
Yeah, I'll need to because you got censored on YouTube for some reason and Twitch.
Oh, right.
Maybe it was Twitch, but anyway. I was looking for it. What was the name of it? I was looking for it on the Color Computer Archive.
It's called semigraphics. I'll just put it in the local chat here, and then you can.
Oh, okay, that'll work.
Now, if you have a Gimme X, I've got BCC restarted, and I'm running it at the Gimme X CPU speed, 2.6, whatever it was, on this. So this is what it would look like on a Gimme X. There's that bug again. Gee, it's really coming in and getting me.
Now
I
you're in
don't
the
have
same category
bugs.
as Bill Gates.
Yeah,
Your
that's
demo
right.
crash.
Except the program's still running. With Bill Gates, it just blue screened.
Yeah, that's right. Mine still runs, but you can see it is running faster. So if you have a Gimme X, it
In fact, that
starts
new
looking
6809L project we talked about on the show on Saturday, which actually gets rid of all the VMA cycle ones on a standard CoCo 1 and 2 would run about this speed.
yeah.
It's basically a SAM doubler kind of thing.
So Erica says, I will sure play around with that. And Rocky Hill says, I said, I feel like I can write a game. And Erica says, I believe that the vertical resolution can also help blend the colors, so it can probably do some very cool stuff. Erica also says, the get put is something I have to urgently check.
Yes, especially the hidden even byte boundary version of it, because it is so much faster.
Yeah.
Like I said, go check out episode of CoCoTECH B. I did a demonstration showing some of the speed ups. And
I posted a link earlier.
And October 1982 has actually a little demonstration program that does it, that does a flying saucer, and it actually does the same sequence, drawing the saucer going up and then diagonally off to the right, and then actually uses the timer to tell you how long it took using the regular (G) option like the manual tells you to do, and then using the other one, and it's literally over 3, maybe 4 times faster.
Right.
And that works on all P modes and semigraphics, so it's like a super bonus win if you learn how to do that.
And that's about it.
And Rocky Hill's asking, will the source for these demos be available for study? The ones that I did, I think, Mark, you've already uploaded in multiple places. If you want to remind people where they are.
Yep. Facebook to the CoCoTECH group, the TRS-80 Color Computer group, the Dragon group, although I didn't see them posted in there. Maybe they're being suspended. They're also on the TRS-80 Color Computer group and the TRS-80 Color Computer DFE group, and I also posted them on the CoCoTECH channel on the Color Computer Discord.
If you can upload them to the archive too, maybe as a zip package or something, then
I can do that.
And of course, if anybody wants to ask any questions from Nick or me, if you guys are fiddling around with these and get stuck or just want to try to understand some things better, you can hit us up on the CoCoTECH channel on the CoCo Discord as well.
That'd be a good place for it.
Oh, damn.
And of course, Nick is going to release this as a game, and since it's in BASIC, you'll probably be able to edit it and take a look at it.
You can just list it and try to understand what I've done.
Exactly.
Well, let's not get carried away here. You can try to figure out the program a bit and make some modifications. Understanding Nick is a whole different ballgame.
So we have a thank you for making this from Rocky Hill now.
Oh, great. Thanks. Like I said, I want to get to the end of this, get back to my main game, which I've been put on pause for a while I do this. I don't want to get too far away and then forget everything I did on that other game.
Yeah, and I've got a whole whack load of other projects. I got to get back to my games webpage. I've got a bunch of things to do there. There's a bunch of new releases recently, so there's more stuff to add before I go back to the 1982 where I left off. Plus Nitrous 9, plus Basic 9, and a whole bunch of other things too. So, but we want to get this knowledge out there because this is something I actually had on my list of things to try for a CoCoTECH episode if it worked, which up until about a month ago I didn't even know because I hadn't tried it yet. And then I got talking to Nick about it, and we actually he watched me program the first initial thing of this just to give it a shot, and much to my surprise, it worked first try. So that's when this whole thing started.
Thank you,
Where
Erica.
I derailed
this is
Nick from his regular game. What's that? Sorry, Mark.
Oh, Erica said this is really superb. Yes, it is. It's like these are the sorts of tricks where you can someone who just competent with BASIC can then get a decent looking game without losing all their hair, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it runs pretty quick for BASIC, and it gives you all the colors.
Once you wrap your head about by the around the way it sort of things are a bit mapped differently to what you're used to, yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah, like the even byte start and end chart, that's one of the critical things to get it to work properly.
Yeah.
But as long as you follow that, couple slides in the PDF version, you guys can get the entire presentation I gave without all my long-winded prattling. And just kind of look it up. The color part's pretty easy. Poke 178, and then you just pick left, right, or full double pixels, and you just use the color number you're used to.
And this whole program is just using the get, put, that color poke, and I do use the line command to do some boxes and lines. That's it. I don't use any other graphic commands.
Well, use P copy, I guess, a little bit for the.
Oh yeah, the P copy I do. Yeah, that's right. During the setup.
Yeah.
But yeah, that mode that Tandy originally did not want to advertise and promote back in the day.
Even though they used it in some of their own stuff like Atom and Audio Spectrum Analyzer. And...
Well, one of the very first programs they sold on cartridge was Steve Bjork's the analyzer, Spectrum Analyzer, which is the reason that I bought a CoCo in the first place, because I wasn't going to buy one. I thought, gee, those graphics are terrible. Those colors are awful. Is that all you get? Until I saw Spectrum Analyzer, which showed colors and a black background. I thought, aha, there's hope. And then my first game was that brilliant game that Curtis really likes,
Neutroid,
which was a semigraphics 24 game.
Which was a good demonstration of semigraphics, I have to say.
Oh, back in the day, yeah.
Not playable, but it's a good demonstration.
Yeah, exactly. That's about what I was saying, Mark. Thanks for covering that for me.
Oh, credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we're done here.
We're done.
Thanks. So that's any final questions from the chat. If not, hit us up on Discord in the CoCoTECH channel, which is under which group section, so people can find it faster.
It's under the one with the lobby in it. So what is that? That is the CoCo Nation Show. That's a good place to put it. So it's the third one down beneath lobby and Ron's garage.
Okay. So anyway, as Mark has said, he's uploaded to Facebook to various CoCo related groups and the Dragon group. He's uploaded it to the CoCo Discords. You guys can get the disc image for the demos that I did. Nick's won't be available until he's got the game basically done.
I'll get those submitted.
So. Yeah, it's been delayed.
And we've uploaded to the Color Computer Archive, so it'll show up when Guillaume has enough time to go through it. He's got a few backlogged ones there. So anyway, some pretty cool tricks. You can do some pretty fast, not machine language speed, but pretty good, decent speed games with all the colors on a CoCo 1, 2, or 3, though you will want to do your numbers and digits in graphics if you want to do it on 3. And you get to hijack BASIC to do it, so you don't have to learn machine language or learn how to poke the various parts of the screen. And to be honest, poking parts of the screen from BASIC would be way too slow anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll call this a wrap, but we will put a plug in. 3 days from now, we're going to have our Game On Challenge on Thursday evening like usual. So that's 8 p.m. Eastern time. So please show up and play the games of the week. I think we're doing, was it the Dang It? And the new one is, what's the new game?
Storm Arrows.
Storm Arrows, right. And you can get both of those. The Dang It, you probably want the patched one that's on the Color Computer Discord under Game On Challenge. But I don't think it's been uploaded. I think it has been uploaded. I don't know if it's been put back in the Color Computer Archive yet. But the other one you can get from the Color Computer Archive. So come join us on Thursday evening, play live, get streamed. And then, of course, our regular show next Saturday. That'll be at 2 p.m. Eastern time. It's normal time for that, where we go from anywhere from 2.5 to 6 hours, depending on how good things are going. And
or bad.
Or bad.
And how many people are doing thing?
Yep, that's right. Rocky said actually there earlier, he said that they're used to holding their bladder for 4 hours. So said that we're doing good here at 2 hours and 35 minutes. So, well, anyway, we're going to call this a wrap, and we'll have more CoCoTECHs coming out. I got to get some more people online to show what they're working on. But anyway,
I have a couple more I'll be working on with different people, depending which one it is. But yeah, there's a few more I'll be planning.
Cool. Well, let's make it a regular thing, probably on Mondays or Tuesday evenings. That's a good time during the week for some of us. I know it's not convenient for a lot of people, but it's a big world, and we have day jobs too. So anyway, and you can always watch it later when it's recorded. So
Yeah.
Anyway, well, say goodbye, folks, and say goodbye to our wonderful people. We have had 10, 11 people watching constantly. So anyway, we're all glad you showed up to see us live, and we'll go from there.
Yep. Sorry for the
Goodbye,
little glitches
folks.
at the beginning, but then my
Yeah.
bandwidth going to crap.
Yeah, we get the right settings here. I think I got some good settings for the future. So anyway, bye, y'all, folks, and we're going to
All
call this
right.
a wrap.
Bye. Thanks for watching, and we're sorry.
We are sorry.